You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you, Miller and Moulton, on a football Friday, Mark?
Football Friday.
There you go. Muster one up. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network.
Don't sleep on the NFL, David. That's what I've learned. Do not go to sleep on the NFL because more times than not, you will be disappointed when you wake up. They can play a fourth quarter. You know, the NFL gets so little criticism for anything. But the NBA has always had this adage that to watch a game, you just have to watch the last 2 minutes to see what's happened. David, the NFL is now, you don't really have to watch the first three quarters, but you better tune in when the fourth quarter starts. Because these suckers tend to get interesting once we get to the final stanza, if you know what I mean.
Well, you better tune in when you've got two elite quarterbacks for a fourth quarter and the offenses have been softening the defenses up. Because, Mark, you know my theory. A modern defense has 50 plays in it. It used to have 70, and then it used to have 60. But now a modern defense only has 50 plays in it. And I can tell you that when the Chargers finally broke through and increased the lead to 21-13, I looked up and the Chiefs had run 52 plays. And I said, okay, here it comes. Chargers are going to have problems from this point forward. Chiefs scored essentially the next three times they had the ball. Chiefs got the ball back with 20 seconds to go in regulation and ran three plays. And, so you don't want to count that. They scored touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. And the defense was gassed. And just like the Chiefs defense was gassed too. It's why when the minute plus that was left in regulation when the Chiefs scored, I mean, they go 75 yards in a minute three, Mark, and Herbert's got a minute 16 and two timeouts. And he needs 40 yards. And obviously they couldn't get it. Chiefs made a stop. And you kind of thought to yourself, are you guys ever going to get the ball back? And they never did. Now, I would like to test out my rule change on you, Felipe, and everybody else. And it has nothing to do with how last night went.
All right. I do want to get to one thing before your rule change. I want to get to one actual game thing that you and I have been all over for a while, David, and it happened last night. They went for two first. And to your theory on plays, they scored the first touchdown, they went for two, as opposed to...
No, they kept going for it on fourth down. That's what they kept doing. Remember, the Chargers got first and goal at the 5, and then 3 incomplete passes, and then they went for it.
Right. The Chargers are leading 21-13. Kansas City scores their first of two touchdowns in the fourth quarter. That's where they went for two.
Oh, okay.
And converted. And I just wanted to say, because you and I we just talked about this on Monday, so I just wanted to get to what the booth thought, the analytics of why, in your breakdown for people that didn't listen last night, of why, is Troy in favor of that, or would he have gone for two the second time? Just curious, because it's something that we actually talked about on this show on Monday.
Well, they were down 8, and they scored, and we were in the fourth quarter. So, it seemed pretty obvious.
Okay,
that to go for two. But with the way, Mark, that Brandon Staley was
going for
I felt recklessly going for it on fourth down. The analytics people just said, no, he went for it every single time he should have. And I will say the analytics, every single fourth down, including the very first one of the game, fourth and goal at the 5, 2 minutes into the game. Analytics said 4% better chance of winning if you go for it than kick a field goal. Okay.
All right.
But I felt he was reckless in going for it on fourth down. I really did.
The only one that really got me was the before half. I would have kicked it. I said it out loud. The wife was still up. I go, I'd kick it. But he's been going for it nonstop, so you can't really criticize his MO because he's already established what he's doing in this game.
Right. I mean, he went for it on 4th and goal at the 5. He's certainly going to go for it on 4th and goal from the 1.5.
Right. Don't care. It's late in the quarter, whatever the case, late in the half. All right. Sorry about that. I wanted to get that because it was something we talked about and before, because I think you're setting up the show, and that's why I wanted to get that out and let you get to your overtime rule.
Well, no, there's two parts of this game. One is the overtime, but the second one, and the one that I think most people are talking about today, if they watched large chunks of the game, was the 4th down decisions. And this is, by the way, the modern football debate. This is analytics versus, I don't know what to tell you. There's analytics, and then there's what's taking place right before my eyes. I mean, over the course of 1,000 simulations or whatever it is that makes up these analytics, that's great. I got 64 plays tonight. I mean, this may work over a season, but this is not the smart play tonight, right now. And Mark, I was thinking about this. This goes back 15 years. This goes back to Belichick against Peyton Manning. I mean, and for those that don't remember, it was New England at Indianapolis, and New England had a lead pretty much the whole game. But Peyton and that offense by the third quarter had figured the Patriots defense out, and Peyton was getting the ball and scoring. Sometimes it took 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever, but I mean, they were scoring. They scored 3 straight touchdowns. And Bill thought, well, if he gets the ball back, they're going to win. And so they had 4th and 4 feet on their own 28 2/3. And Bill went for it. That was 15 years ago. I mean, this was stop the presses.
Right.
You got to be kidding me. What in the blankety blank is he doing?
What yard line was he on?
His own 28.5.
Yeah, I thought I was going to say right around his own 30. Okay, so yeah, we came and did a show the next day, and I remember not just our show. That was the sports talk theme of the day nationally.
Yes. Yeah, I think it was a Monday Night Football game.
It was.
Or maybe, and
it was either a Monday night or a Sunday night, but it was a primetime game like most Colt Patriot games were.
And it was the rarity that you could complete a pass needing 1.5 yards and come up short of the first down, especially since you completed a pass across the line of scrimmage. I mean, they completed a pass for about 1 yard, and they needed 1.5 yards. And so the Colts took over on downs. And only having to go 30 yards, Peyton and company slow played it, scored with like 30 seconds to go, and won the game. And needless to say, there's not a whole lot of times that the media can really question Bill Belichick about football. And so after the game, the media is going at him. And he said simply, I just felt, we couldn't stop him. And now remember, we're talking about championship defense here.
This isn't Randy Moss, Tom Brady, New England Patriots. No. This is still win with defense, New England Patriots.
And they're like, well, what is that saying about your defense? And he goes, well, I'll say it to their face. At that point in time, he had us figured out. I just give it to him on our 30 or his 20. To me, it didn't matter. We were going to lose. And so I went for it. I was trying to win the game. And Brandon Staley, after the game last night, basically said, I'm trying to win the game here. You need points against these guys. All right? I'm trying to win the game. Okay, Mark, I felt I could be wrong. The analytics people could tell me I'm wrong. I felt the very first possession of the game dictated how Brandon Staley treated 4th down the rest of the game.
Absolutely. David, you and I like to play poker, or even we like to play blackjack. This is the guy who always hits on 16 no matter what. Or for that matter, he hits on 12. He's going to hit. The analytics say hit on 12. No matter what, they've got a 5 up, I'm hitting on 12. And you and I just wouldn't.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. That you sit down at the table.
I'm going to let the dealer flip a 10 over, and I'm going to take my money. I'm not going to flip a 10 and not even have a chance to win the hand. That's how I play. That's how you play. But if the analytic guy there and he's sitting in that 6 hole, and he keeps hitting that 12, we're going to kill him at the end of the night. But by that first going for it situation, I was totally with you. And that's why when he went for it on the 4th and 1.5 at the end of the half, I said kick it, but I knew he wasn't going to.
I thought he might because the Chiefs were getting the second half kickoff. And I thought, going up 7 here might not be a bad play because, really, you could be tied next time you have the ball. So, but the first one, 4th and goal at the 5, surprised me. And I believe, there's no way of knowing this, it's a hypothetical. If he simply kicks the first field goal, in theory, the rest of the first half is going to play out the way it plays out. I don't think an early field goal is going to change play calling, etc. Mark, when he's got 4th and goal from the 1.5 at the end of the half, it's 17-10. And I think he says, well, I'll kick the field goal here and go up 2 scores. So I felt as if the very first decision, it's kind of like going for 2 early and missing, and you feel as if the coach continues to go for 2 because he's chasing the first miss. I felt like Staley was chasing the first decision the whole game. Because then I think if he's up 20-10 at the half instead of 14-10 at the half, they have a situation a little bit later where they're down on the 2-yard line, and I think he kicks another field goal. And in theory, Mark, instead of it being 14-13 at the end of the third quarter, it's 23-13. There's no way of knowing. But I think the scoreboard, if he kicks the first field goal, would have changed his tune about the next 2 4th downs.
It could be. The other side of it, if Mahomes could throw a 1-yard pass when he needed to, would we even be having these conversations right now? Because that's the worst 4th and 1 pass I've ever seen in my life.
Certainly from a superstar quarterback.
Yeah, right.
Holy mackerel.
Right. Miller and Moulton. Pretty good show lined up for you today. Lee Sterling will come on his final appearance in 2021. Getting into some semifinal games on the show, David. Don't know if you caught his list.
I did.
Pat Kirwan for a couple of segments in the 8 o'clock hour in Wilton Jackson. We'll talk about Dion and Jackson State in our bonus 9 o'clock hour. That's all I had right here. Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
It's been a great start to the NFL season, and it's only getting better at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. DraftKings is putting new customers in the center of the action with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Get in on the action now. It's simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Feel the NFL action like never before with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And the best part is you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings app now and use code M&M. This week, new customers can get a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Enter code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. That's code M&M. Only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Yes, David, I was having fun with the graphics.
I like it.
David, did you ever go over that overtime rule? I was working on the computer.
We'll do it here.
Yeah.
Your overtime rule.
I'm curious.
Yeah, there's 2 things that I want to mention. First off, we were debating yesterday the crowd.
It sounded a little more Chargers than I thought.
It was a very 50-50 crowd.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought the same.
And the good thing is it was easy to tell because the Chiefs fans all wore their red and the Chargers fans all had on their baby blue. So it was real easy to distinguish the crowd.
Sure, that was aesthetically pleasing.
The only thing that would have made that game better last night is if the Chiefs had worn their home jerseys. And I felt when the Chargers went baby blue that they could have.
Yes, red versus
had a
blue.
very USC UCLA feel to it
Yes.
in SoFi, you know.
So funny you say that. So the Chargers come out, and we knew they were coming out in their baby blues. And I turned to Troy and I go, best uniforms in the league right here. I'm baby blues. I've never seen them in their baby blues. And he looks right at me and goes, you mean UCLA blue?
Of course he did.
And I looked right at him and I said, get over it already.
Wait, he went to UCLA?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Went to Oklahoma, too.
Oh, really?
So yeah, for a year, got hurt.
Transferred. I electrocuted myself yesterday.
Well, congratulations. Hey, you lived to tell about it.
I don't know if I've ever been that scared.
What did you do?
So Maddie plugs in our Christmas lights when we get home every night. And the trees didn't go up on the one side. I had trenched out the sod and put the extension cord under the ground so the mowers would never did it. And I swear to you, I'm bringing the lawn, like the head lady over today. Cause I'm like, it looked like it was maliciously destroyed. All my trench was all dug. I'm running my hand down from the thing and they had cut through the wires and I hit it. And you can see like this hole in my finger. My finger lit on fire, big poof of smoke, scared the crap out of me.
No way. Oh my gosh.
No way. Yeah, what I thought in the last 24 hours, what would be the fun electrocution story I could tell on the air? I was more freaked out because what if my daughter would have grabbed? You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah,
she's plugging things in. It's like, yeah, it sent a pretty good spark. My finger was pretty black. I was like, wow, look at that. Idiot.
Yeah, it really is a damn shame that the Chargers have. I think people mutually agree that the Chargers have the best uniforms, yet they have the least amount of fans.
Well, they had fans in San Diego.
That's what I'm saying. And San Diego's not far.
Yeah, but they're not. That it's bitter now.
Obviously, because
you ever drive in Southern California?
No, and I don't want to.
And the game kicked at 5:20 local time.
Oh.
If you're coming from San Diego, you needed to leave at lunch.
You're right.
Yeah. Catch a helicopter. How about that?
That there wouldn't be enough of them. And they're bitter. Remember, that would be would be taking the Miami Dolphins and moving them to Palm Beach.
Oh, I would.
Because the owner wanted more money. It would be the opposite city-wise, if you know, because obviously size-wise, Palm Beach would be the smaller one.
Right.
But I mean, think about that distance.
It'd be like
but that's about the distance, and think about it's a little longer than that. It's probably another 40 miles on top of that, and take the traffic, even Miami traffic, and multiply it by probably 20.
Yeah. It would be like someone from Davie who's a Panthers fan, and the Panthers moved to the American Airlines Arena or the FTX Arena.
Well, yeah.
Times 2.
Times 2,000 million trillion.
And with the traffic times 3. That's an endangered species, not the Panthers, the Panther fan.
That's not true. They're coming out of the woodwork.
Yes, they are.
They are. I'm telling you, David.
Good.
There's one I see at gymnastics now. The wife's now wearing the gear too. I saw her.
That.
Yeah.
I will say they've got good colors and good uniform. You could become a Panthers fan and love to buy their gear.
By the way, comment of the night last night. I don't know. I think it's that 4th down on the goal line.
10 seconds.
Eve looks at me and she goes, "How old is he?"
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
20 minutes after the hour, top of the morning to you. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. Good show lined up for you on this Football Friday. Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports, who went 6-2 on his games of the week this year. He'll give you another one, a final one, coming up in a little more than an hour. Pat Kirwan for 30 minutes of NFL talk at the top of the 8 o'clock hour. And we'll head to Jackson, Mississippi. Wilton Jackson covers Deion and Jackson State. And we'll just talk about Deion's 2 years in the bonus hour and where he and they are going from here. And do the folks in Jackson, Mississippi, think that he is in fact changing college football? But getting back to Thursday night football, the last one on Fox, there is a Thursday night game next week. It'll be in Tennessee. Don't ask me who's playing the Titans. It'll be an NFL Network exclusive. And then next year, the games will be on Amazon. And especially for those living in the 239, every game will be exclusively on Amazon because a Dolphins and a Bucks game will appear in the Tampa Bay and Miami markets on a local affiliate. But everyone outside the home market will only be able to get the games through Amazon.
San Francisco at Tennessee. San Francisco at Tennessee.
Look at that.
Curious, what was the mood? You mentioned there was a little party. You stopped in for half a second because you had to get up in 3 hours and do a radio show. But what was the mood like? You guys have done this for a few years, the Fox Thursday night thing. It was the last one. I was, one of those nights where I'm head bobbing in the second half, but wide awake, of course, for post game, like I always am. And they brought Joe and Troy on post game, so it was a little more elaborate. I'm just curious of the mood of from the broadcast crew all the way on down of an ending of a bit of an era.
I'm going to speak for me because, quite frankly, we didn't talk about it much. I mean, we all kept greeting one another going, last one. And I think we were thrilled we got a good game. I thought Joe touched upon a feeling in the open, as we call it, right before the game starts, that all of us had, which was the one terrific thing about Thursday night football, was that you got to see a lot of teams that the A team doesn't normally see. Because we all know how it works. In the 80s and 90s when it was Summerall and Madden, they got a lot of Giants and Redskins and Eagles. And then when the Cowboys got good in the 90s, they had a lot of Cowboys games and a lot of Niners games during that great run and some Bears. And the rest of the NFC, they didn't really see unless they were playing those 4 or 5 teams. And that was the one great thing I thought, Mark, that Thursday Night Football did, was we got to see the league because of Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, that's very true. And the fans benefited from that as well. And as I've mentioned, David, in this world of fantasy football, we're much more eager to see more teams than we ever have been before. It doesn't mean that the marquee game doesn't get the biggest number. It does. But more of us watch more than ever before. All right, overtime last night, David. You wanted to get to some thoughts on your overtime rules.
Yes. I have felt this for years, and I'm only feeling it more strongly every year because home field is meaning less and less. We've documented it on this show. Road teams are right around 500 again this year. For the most of the year, they've won more games than the home teams. I've stopped keeping track in the last couple of weeks, but this is a 3-year phenomenon, by the way, where basically home teams and road teams are even. Mark, I don't believe there should be coin tosses at the start of the game and in overtime.
You've been on this for a long time, and you've been right for a long time. Go on. Speak, my friend.
Well, I don't know if I'm right, but I feel every year that's gone on with home field having less of an advantage. I mean, Mark, we've got Lee Sterling coming on in an hour. When we started with Lee, what was home field worth?
3 points.
3, maybe even 3.5.
Right.
Then now it's down to about a point and a half. So even from a betting standpoint, it's like, it really doesn't matter. Whatever. Just pick who you think's going to win. So it's documented home field doesn't mean what it does. I think that teams better prepare for going on the road. They leave earlier, training, sleep, the coaching even. I just think they're better.
I would say coaching, David, because, noise used to bother teams. Every team knows how to operate without speaking and doing all. Yeah, it can affect it, but we've evolved in the game offensively so much that it's just easier.
And I think simply the coin toss should be taken out of football. I do. If you want to keep a coin toss as the 8th tiebreaker to determine which team is ahead of another in the standings, fine. You want to flip a coin for the NFL draft, it would turn 2 teams tied, conference record, everything identical. We have to figure out which one drafts 14th and which one drafts 15th. Fine.
One time, one coin toss, one game, Super Bowl.
Mm,
There's too much money riding on it. The most important coin toss that there is in sports.
And
Because it's bet on.
yeah, and David's rule implies home field.
Correct. It's a neutral site game.
Okay.
right.
I see. what-
Last year was the first year that we had a home team in the game. The Niners played in Pasadena when they beat Marino and the Dolphins, so they were not that far away, but it was not a home game.
I mean, Pasadena and the Bay Area are a little bit of
Yeah.
a travel distance there. It's in
Right.
the same state, but
Right.
it's barely in the same time zone, if you know what I mean.
So
I
think
want it in the Super Bowl because it's a neutral site game.
Yep.
And I don't know if you just go with best record for that because you could do it.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to eliminate, but Mark, I think you make a dadgum good point. We can do it for the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl's different. It's special. It's a one-off. And so, yeah, we could do it this way. I think it makes sense. It's intended to be a neutral site game. Only once in 56, right, have we had a home team. So, all right.
A London
to-
game.
No,
so
there's
to-
a home team there.
Oh.
There's always a home team for every game.
Right.
So I feel there should be no coin toss. I think the home team should decide. Do they want the ball or do they want to defer? What goal, if there's wind, if weather's a factor, that this is what the home head coach gets to decide at the beginning of the game. How is it you want to start the game? How is it you want to be going in the fourth quarter? That's your right, your privilege. Privilege by being the home team.
Yeah, that's what being home. That's what home
Yes.
means. And
And-
the coin toss is a waste of time.
Well, there's 2 things about the coin toss for overtime that just drives me nuts. Is one, the road team gets to call it. If you think that there's some sort of skill involved in calling the coin toss, the road captain gets to call it. That's, to me, absurd. I mean, at least if you want to have the coin toss, let the home captain call it. If some people are really good at calling the coin toss. If you believe in that sort of thing, right? But I truly believe, Mark, we should not have a coin toss, and that everybody should know. And by the way, the visiting coach and visiting team should know it late in the fourth quarter. Hey, you do know if we go to overtime, home team gets the ball first. Or if it's howling weather and they actually want to kick the ball, fine. But everybody, 99% of the time, if you're going to overtime, the team that wins the toss takes the ball. Well, without a coin toss, everybody would know when we're playing the final few minutes of regulation. Hey, we go to overtime, which is only 10 minutes in the regular season. Home team's getting the ball to start. Maybe road team late decides, you know what? I don't know if I want to take my chances in overtime because they're going to get the ball to start. And 10 minutes is time for about 3 possessions, and they'll get 2 of them. I may go for 2 here, try to win it at the end. Whatever. But
I've got to add something to my Twitter profile, David. Right now, it says ketchup on a hot dog should be a felony, anti-cart paths, and bourbon only needs 1 ice cube. I also mentioned I co-host this show. That's at the end. If I have to take that out for
eliminate coin toss,
hashtag eliminate the coin toss. It's a movement, David. I'm curious. Have you asked the guys to your right and left that you spend Thursdays and the occasional Sunday with about this rule?
I don't know if I've talked to Gary about it. I told Troy last night during the commercial going overtime. He looked at me. He said, "You got anything for me?" And I go, "Well, I got my theory about overtime. I think the home team should get the ball first. It's part of home field advantage." And he looked at me like, well, that does me a lot of good. Thanks. Why are you here again? I don't need to be sitting next to some Yahoo on his couch right now. I could kind of use a little helpful information.
It is helpful information. So he is not going to help us lead the charge with hashtag eliminate the coin toss.
Well, he might actually. Maybe he thinks it's a good idea. I think the look he gave me was, that's not a good idea at 1:45. I need a little something different.
You know when that's a good idea? 38-6.
Yeah, or on the way home.
To talk to.
Right. On the way home from the game, if we were in the same car, that might have been a time to talk about this. Miller and Moulton. So I don't know if you agree or not. I don't know if we should make it a poll question. All right. Because I don't think a whole lot of people have spent a lot of time thinking about it. They've just accepted this is what it is. We have coin tosses. I think it's ridiculous. And with there being less and less and less and less of a home field advantage, I really think if I was the NFL, I would be trying to do more to create a home field advantage. Because ultimately, if the fans don't think it matters that they're there, they'll stop going.
I like where your head's at, David.
Well, you got approval from Felipe.
Wow. I never appealed to the under 30 demo.
No, usually it's the over 65 female demo that you were huge in early in your career.
Big. I am big.
We're big in Immokalee at the casino. That's all we know. Hoping to be big in St. Pete and Tampa as well one day. We thank you very much for listening. We'd love you to text the show. You do that by texting FSN Radio, all one word, FSN Radio, like Florida Sports Network. Get it? FSN Radio to 21,000. And give us your thoughts on David's overtime rule, which I think is sensational, by the way. I've been a big supporter of this. I thought maybe something new came up. I like that you're staying strong with this. Starting 5 on the other side. And then it's overtime talk, maybe in and around Lee Sterling, Pat Kirwan, and the rest of Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network. Mark Miller for Orange Whip Golf and Fitness Power Peel at Home Training System. This complete body and swing trainer uses resistance band connection system to fix bad habits and ingrain a more consistent, powerful swing. The Power Peel system is powered by functional golf swing training technology. It trains both your swing and body at the same time. Simply make a few prescribed resistant band connections, and in a few steps on the peel, you'll swing better, feel better, and play better. Use it before your round of warm-up, as your daily fitness routine, or anytime you want to feel and train the swing you've always wanted. Pair the Power Peel with the Orange Whip Golf and Fitness at Home training technology, available with a monthly membership, and maximize your results with Golf Fitness X coach-led programs that take less than 20 minutes a day. Buy the Power Peel training bundle now for 4 interest-free payments of $115 by going to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10. That's code Miller10 to save $45. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to save $45 and play better golf. Go to orangewhipgolf.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. I actually bought a text. He didn't text me back. I was curious when they're going to have that combo site up, because I couldn't find that anywhere. The transfer plus the guys.
Right.
Because their site just had the recruits. It wasn't based on transfers, the one I was looking at. By the way, don't you have to pound, if you can, I don't know what the number is going to go, but yeah, Sparty lost their running back for the game, but Pickett just decided he's not playing either. Don't you have to pound Sparty in that game?
I'd say that's a bigger disadvantage to Pitt.
Yeah, I mean, if you can still, before that number starts moving too much, don't you just hammer that thing? Oh, wow. Hewlett in Environmental Services is going to become Rollins Environmental Services. They just bought him. I don't know, man. Gronk's a better blocker. That's the one thing there. Gronk's a better blocker. Uh-oh, we just lost David. Oh, and even better. Oh, now it's delivered. Tough starting 5 when I didn't write a damn thing down and David's computer goes down right before. How much time do we have?
1 minute and 40 seconds.
Oh, good.
Like, is he not? Is his face?
No, he's gone. Like he disappeared. His connection disappeared.
Crap.
Keep an eye on your phone over there.
I got nothing yet. Oh, and he's the one that has the starting.
Right. This will be the best segment ever.
Ooh. Are we going to make up a starting 5 on the spot right now?
Yep.
Let's do it. Got to cook up some. Oh, gotta check those out.
Where's my audio? What do you got? Sorry, that was funny for me.
Oh. All right, we got a minute. I got some NBA stuff if you need.
Oh, I've got all the scores right here. I'm not too worried about that.
No, but I can talk about Kevin Durant in his last 5 games.
I could talk about Kevin Durant.
I'll
Twitch chat room.
I'll tell you. I'll let you know. We're coming back now.
There he is.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, Ritz-Carlton just lost their internet. So I had to hook up to the MiFi there.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
20 minutes before the hour. Top of the morning to you. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. Lee Sterling in a little less than an hour. Pat Kirwan at the top of the 8 o'clock hour. We'll look ahead to the rest of Week 15 in the NFL, which got off to a great start last night at SoFi, which is where the Super Bowl is going to be. It is a magnificent stadium, Mark. And it's not a dome. It's like a canopy. The bottom half of the stadium is underground. That's why it costs so much. So only half of the stadium you see. And that half on both ends is open air, which is why it was chilly for Los Angeles last night.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It makes it a cool stadium when you're in the ground like that. You know, I mean, it's its own little wine cellar, David.
Yes, it is. But what to me is interesting is, I don't know about you, Mark, but when you and I join our money together and put 3 to 5 billion in to build the stadium wherever it is we're going to build it for that bowl game between the MAC and the Sun Belt that we so desperately want. I don't know about you, but I would at least figure out a way to close in the sides to host March Madness. They can't have the NCAA basketball tournament in that stadium because you've got wind 100% of the time.
That's crazy.
Yes.
I mean, it's absolutely crazy that wasn't at least discussed, a way to close it or do something so you could have hoop, because they would have had a Final Four there. I mean, write it down.
Sure, they'd be in the rotation like every 7 years. They'd go to Los Angeles. Who loves their basketball, by the way?
Absolutely.
So, but it's a great football stadium, make no bones about it. And it was about 90% full. I think folks at home needed to realize that was a 5:20 local kick, and traffic is bad. So it needed most of the first quarter to fill in. But it did, and much to my surprise, Mark, there was a few more Chargers fans than I thought.
It sounded 50-50 to me, David. It sounded way more 50-50 than I expected. We thought it'd be a 2/3, 1/3 Chief crowd, bare minimum. And a lot of pops, when the Chargers did something well. From TV standpoint, David, it felt 50-50 to me. What did it look like?
It was exactly 50-50. The Charger fan was the late arriving fan, though. They were the local fan caught in traffic. Chiefs fan came from out of town. They were there early. So I think early in the game, the Chiefs got out to a 10-0 lead. It may have looked and or felt more like a Chiefs crowd, but it was 50-50. And they were battling at the end of a close game on key plays. So it was a good atmosphere, which is not always the case for the NFL in Los Angeles.
Time now for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
In case you didn't stay up, Chiefs 34-28 over the Chargers in overtime. Kansas City all but clinches the West. They have a 2-game lead in the division with 3 to play. They're 10-4. Chargers are 8-6 and now need to battle in amongst 14 other teams, seemingly, for one of the 3 wild card spots. Chargers led this game most of the final 2.5 quarters, too, but they couldn't put the Chiefs away. Mahomes led the Chiefs on a touchdown drive and a 2-point conversion when they were down 8 in the fourth quarter. Then absolutely needing to score in the final 2 minutes to send it to overtime. They do. And then Mahomes to Travis Kelce, first possession of overtime, 34 yards, touchdown. You could start working on that bust right now, by the way. If there was ever any doubt, 10 for 191 on a short week when you're the focus of their defense.
And he'd been shut down the last 2 weeks. I think he had 6 catches in the last 2 weeks or something. The last 2 games had not had really good numbers. And all of a sudden there was talk of Kelce slowing down, doesn't have that burst. I don't know. He looked pretty good in overtime when he ran past everyone, David.
The Chargers had not 1, not 2, but 3 trips inside the 5-yard line where they got 0, zilch, no points. 1 was a fumble, but twice they passed up field goals on 4th and goal from the 5 and 4th and goal from inside the 2. And then there was the time in which they were stopped 4th and goal at the 1. Chiefs made the plays late to win it 34-28. COVID's all over the NFL. All over. And I know many of you have stopped watching the news because you're COVIDed out. I get it. We're all tired. We all don't want to hear the 5-letter word. But the Rams have 25 players on the COVID list. 25. Even with the expanded practice squad, Mark, that's 69 bodies you're allowed in the building. 69. Right. Do the math. Minus 25 gives you 44 34 bodies. Never mind key bodies. Never mind your really good players. No. You don't even have enough for a minimum roster right now if you're the Los Angeles Rams. And as of this Friday morning, the National Football League is simply staring at you back in the face and shrugging their shoulders.
Baker Mayfield went on an all-out attack on Twitter. And, David, sometimes I wish it was someone other than Baker that said some of these things, because everybody has their mind made up on him. And in a lot of ways, rightly so, on the way he acts. I don't know if he's going to be a great quarterback, an average quarterback, or a total bust. But when he basically says, what are the rules? If this is player safety, why are we playing? What is it that you stand for? And David, as you said, the NFL is just kind of sitting in Park Avenue going, well, the games are Saturday and Sunday. Play.
2 on Saturday, a bunch on Sunday, 1 on Monday, boys. Have at it. The Browns have 20 players and coaches. I say coaches because their head coach tested positive as well. Both their quarterbacks. It's Baker and yesterday Case Keenum, after practicing, pops positive for COVID. Washington with 18 on the list. The NFL said yesterday they are relaxing the rules to allow players to be able to return from testing positive for COVID faster. If they said what the relaxation was, I missed it. The only thing I can think of, Mark, you used to have 2 consecutive negative COVID tests to be allowed to come back and play. Are they now saying you only have to have 1?
I guess, but if you test positive for it and you weren't vaccinated, you don't get tested again for the rest of the year once you come back, right?
Yeah, I think it's 90 days. Aaron Rodgers has to be tested again for COVID, like on the eve of the NFC Championship game.
Someone's got to help tell me how that makes any sense. I don't get it, David. Said to you before the show, I'm having trouble having a discussion on air about this because I don't understand. These rules don't make sense to me.
Well, there are a few people, Mark, that are saying to Baker Mayfield, you should have a talk with your union, because your union agreed to all this, by the way, and the president of the union is your center. So this shouldn't be hard to have this conversation. If you want to complain, you know the guy to go to. No talk of postponing games.
None.
One would think, so with 2 games scheduled for Saturday, if there's going to be talk about it, it would be today. Jalen Waddle, by the way, for the Dolphins, added to the COVID list. NBA's dealing with COVID. Bulls-Raptors game was canceled. In the NHL last night, they decided that games north of the border are going to be before, half crowds, no crowds. I think Montreal and Toronto are playing coming up, in which there's not going to be anybody in the building. How long this is going to last? No one knows.
How long before, and that's the tricky thing, you only have the Raptors, but in the NHL, David, how long before Canada says, yeah, we're closing our borders again? Because they've acted very differently than we have with this.
In the NBA, KD with 34. The Nets, without 7 players, beat the Sixers. As long as one of them's Kevin Durant, you got to like their chances.
David, just a quick sidebar for you, because for those listening on radio, they don't know this on Twitch, David's connection completely blew up during the break, and it's the starting 5. So I'm making it up on the fly during the commercial break. Philly jumps in with about 2 minutes before we come back on air, and he goes, got some good Kevin Durant information for you in case you need it. 5 good seconds, Philly. Go.
In Kevin Durant's last 5 games, he's had 34 points, 51 points, 31 points, and 25 points.
Thank you.
Suns a winner last night. They matched Golden State for the best record in the league at 23-5. NHL, Lightning beat the Senators of Ottawa 2-1 in Tampa. Stamkos got his 900th career point. Is he a Hall of Famer if his career ended today?
I think so.
I do too. Just, 900's usually not enough to get you in.
No, but he's got a couple of rings.
As the captain.
Career guy there.
Elite goal scorer. Certainly before the injuries hit. I agree. The Florida Panthers were 2 bodies short last night because of the flu and COVID. They only had 16 skaters. Normally you need 18. 12 defensemen, 4 lines, 12 forwards and 6 defensemen. Yeah, they only had 16. They lost the LA Kings 4-1. They've lost 2 home games in a row after only losing 1 home game for the first 2 months of the year. And Mark, Bruce Boudreau's doing it again. Vancouver won their 6th in a row since they hired him. They're nearly 500. This franchise was dead.
He can coach, man. He can coach. I'm just telling you.
College hoops, only ranked team playing last night was Duke. They beat App State by 25. There is a COVID situation in college basketball. A lot of teams are beginning to cancel games. Mark, there was supposed to be this big CBS doubleheader Saturday out in Vegas, Ohio State and Kentucky. Ohio State bailed. UCLA is involved in the other game. They canceled their game Wednesday because of COVID. Not sure they're going to be able to play. Mark, Iona had their opponent, Seton Hall, cancel on them. Iona is coached by Rick Pitino. So if you've been paying attention, Kentucky doesn't have a game for Saturday. And Iona, led by Rick Pitino, doesn't have a game for Saturday. Rick Pitino took to Twitter yesterday afternoon and said, I know it's short notice, but does anybody want to play in the world's most famous arena on Saturday? He got no takers.
Ooh, I like that he threw out the garden at him. I like that he just went garden at him.
He got no takers. So then when Ohio State pulled out of the Kentucky game in Vegas on Saturday, Rick Pitino went right at Kentucky and said, we'll play you. And he was implying, we'll get on a plane and go to Vegas if you want.
Right.
We'll come to Rupp.
Whatever you need.
Right. No response from
Calipari
in Kentucky.
Of course not.
Come on, guys.
Well, not Calipari. Calipari would say, let's go. You think John Calipari is afraid of Rick Pitino and Iona? But people above John Calipari says, no way in hell you're going to play Rick Pitino. No way in hell.
He does have a banner up in the arena,
Yeah, I know. And Michigan doesn't have one in theirs. It helped me with a lot of this, David. It's confusing.
And finally, college football, to tell you how much the bowl games that are not the playoff really matter. Kenneth Walker ruled out of the Gator Bowl, and Kenny Pickett decided, I'm not going to play in the Gator Bowl. I'm going to get ready for the draft. So two of the top 6 vote getters in the Heisman bailed on the Gator Bowl. And that
was the Starting 5 every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
David, you had all those things in the Starting 5, but let's not forget the Toledo Rockets are laying 10.5 at noon against Middle Tennessee in the Bahamas Bowl. Those are the things that matter. Lee Sterling next hour on the Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
The Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, roars through the streets of beautiful downtown St. Petersburg, February 25th to the 27th. 3-day tickets are on sale now at gpstpete.com. It's fast, fun, family entertainment jam-packed into 3 days. The weekend is highlighted by the NTT IndyCar Series race taking the green flag on Sunday afternoon. It all happens at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, February 25th to the 27th. Get your tickets at gpstpete.com to secure the best seats.
It's been a great start to the NFL season, and it's only getting better at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. DraftKings is putting new customers in the center of the action with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Get in on the action now. It's simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Feel the NFL action like never before with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And the best part is you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings app now and use code M&M. This week, new customers can get a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Enter code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. That's code M&M, only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Nice job.
What?
Now, if I would have had a couple more seconds, I would have mentioned that he had a triple double.
You only had 5.
I was gonna say
And that
triple
was
double.
You may work up to 24.
Is that a promotion?
Well, it depends. Depends how the 24 seconds go. I mean, it could be a promotion that leads to a horrible demotion.
I should have said that Isaiah Thomas had 42 points in a G League game, and then a day later got signed by the Lakers.
That had nothing to do with Kevin Durant.
I know, but I'm telling you, I should have done something else entirely.
Yeah, Mark, it's why I'm surprised that the Ritz internet went out at 2:30.
No, that's what I know. I'm like,
Right.
of all things, you'd think it should be fine right now.
Exactly.
But yeah, that last segment, the voice was fine, thank goodness. Your camera froze up literally every other second, it seemed like.
Oh, okay.
You were like, the voice stayed pretty good. Like it'd be a solid shot of your head for 3 seconds, but the voice was still going.
Okay, well, that's all that counts.
No, I know, but that makes me nervous. That's why I wanted to let you know that was, because if that's happening at some point, we might just lose you, period. That's usually the beginning of, that.
A catastrophe.
What do we want for a poll question?
I like the overtime poll question. Based on last night's game, and it's a very compelling question.
All right, David, how do you want to phrase this poll question? Should NFL
How should we determine
of the coin toss?
Yeah, there you go.
And the home team makes,
or you could just say yes, home team should get ball.
I've only got 25 characters. That's why I got to do more in the question. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
It limits you in the question when you only get 25.
How should we handle overtime?
And the home
team gets ball.
Hang on, just hold on 1 second.
How about should the home team get the ball to start overtime? Yes. B.
Yeah.
B. No. I like the coin toss.
One minute.
Well, it depends, Adam. If if you like longer hair, it's Trevor. But Justin's hair is a little more trimmed.
And the COVID issue in sports is just getting worse.
Well,
It's
going to get worse.
It's not good. 10 seconds.
Where's mine?
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
As we approach a couple minutes past the hour, top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. I'm in Los Angeles after the Chiefs beat the Chargers in overtime, 34-28. Overtime is the focus of our poll question. As you know, who gets the ball or gets to determine who gets the ball is decided by a coin toss. Should we eliminate it?
Yes. Except for the Super Bowl.
And the reason that we believe that is twofold. One, because an obscene amount of money is bet on who it is wins the coin toss.
And that's the only time it's ever bet on. Ever. And the league now has these partners like MGM. And I think they're going to want to leave that in for those partners, David.
But the reason that we bring it up is that every day in all of sports. And so
okay, you went away there, David. So I was kind of you started talking, stopped talking. Sorry, we were having a little technical difficulties here. I didn't hear a question if you asked me one, so I apologize. But would you get rid of the coin toss? Is not just for the overtime situation. David and I think it should be the start of the game as well. Is that the home team determines what it is they want. Basically, in the last 3 years, there's been very little home field advantage in any sport. But football was one of the last ones where Vegas even told you it was 3 points. But in the last 3 years, it's been about a 50-50 proposition for home teams and road teams without point spreads, just straight up winners. Home field's got to mean something.
Yes. If for no other reason, then why will fans continue to pay? I mean, part of it is we think deep down we can make a difference, not only helping to inspire our team, but helping to maybe make it more difficult for the visitor. And that's why we've been worth historically 3 points. Some places we're worth even a touch more. Some places, we're not so good. We're worth a touch less. But now, even the best of fans are barely worth anything.
Certainly on Sundays. I mean, it's hard-pressed to tell me it doesn't matter on Saturdays. Hard for me to believe that the Michigan fan didn't have something to do with how well Michigan played and maybe a little bit how they were able to get Ohio State to screw up from time to time. But on Sundays, I just think every team is so well coached now. Even teams that we think are poorly coached are coached at a level that is far better than the generations before it. So when they go up and it's a screaming crowd and they can go into a no huddle and they can go with the silent count, it's not as big of a deal. It used to be, oh, well, Peyton Manning's great with a silent count, but nobody else is. They're all pretty good at it. And the home team get the ball. I will tell you one thing. Even though last night was a 50-50 crowd, David, most aren't. And I go back to my time in minor league hockey. I had a coach who thought the shootout should have been before the game of hockey. When the ECHL that I worked in did shootouts to determine wins and losses, he goes, I just wish it was at the start of the game. We could start every game with a shootout. Then if it ends in a tie, we already know who won. But there's nothing worse than a great hockey game ends up in a shootout. The road team wins. You've actually gotten a point. You've worked your tail off, and everybody walks out thinking that you lost. You know, it's a terrible ending for the crowd. Well, last night, for a great football game, the home crowd didn't get much in the overtime, if you know what I mean.
Because their team didn't even get the ball. And I think we've been over that debate before. There are some of you that believe that each team should get the ball once. And by the way, if that's the case, then you incorporate your wishes with ours. Then in theory, every home team would kick off. Why? If for no other reason then, when you get the ball back, you know it's 4 downs. You know exactly what your scenario is. You're going for it on 4th down every time if you gave up points the first time around. Whereas the team that starts with the ball, they're operating under the assumption that, boy, unless it's 4th and really short, I've only got 3 downs. But that's just one thought. The other thing, and boy, this is difficult to go here, and we've gone here for 18 months, and people really don't want to go here. We thought, we hoped, we crossed our fingers that we were going to get through the 2021-22 sports season, and we were not going to have to worry about COVID. That is apparently not the case. So now, what do these leagues do? Do you go back to a year and a half ago?
David,
I know.
There's no other way to do this. We all know that if you mention COVID, people have their ideas, and a lot of them are aligned politically. If we start shutting down leagues again, just from a PR standpoint, David, I don't know if it's the right thing to do or not. I don't. But can we just talk in terms of public relations, and you're going to win or lose either way? Because half the people think that probably should be shut down and stopped. And if they shut it down and stop, half the people are going to go, are you out of your mind?
I mean, take last night, for example. We're in Los Angeles. The governor on Monday just changed the rules again and said, by the way, everyone indoors has to wear a mask statewide. No exceptions.
Now, last night, that stadium's not technically indoors, is it?
Nope. Yet there were far more people than you would think sitting in the crowd with masks on.
And
now I will say, sorry, Mark, every NFL worker had a mask on. Every stadium employee. When we were, walked into the bowels of the stadium, it was expected of us to have a mask on because they considered that indoors. I mean, come on, you got walls around you here. This is not open air. Now, we played along. We wore our masks. But if one of us had decided this is BS, I'm not going to do it, I don't know if we would have been stopped and ordered to put our masks back on and what have you.
David, I look at you at this and have watched you travel for a year and a half with a lot of unknowns.
Mm-hmm.
And if I were to characterize you traveling last year, the word I would use is fearful. Your attitude was cautious and maybe a little bit fearful. And I don't mean that with any disrespect. I just mean the attitude. What I got from our talks off air were all business, very cautious. I'm going to stay away from everybody. I got to keep this job. I got to keep myself safe. And even when you were vaccinated, it was the same way. This year, I've not felt you acting the same way you did a year ago. You've been more comfortable. It's been a lot more normal. Our conversations have been about football and restaurants and, oh, crap, I almost missed this flight because I got delayed. Not about masks and, holy crap, the guy took it down at the airport and everybody yelled at him stuff. I mean, it's changed. And you were as cautious as anybody I know and as safe as anybody I know. If we go back to having that cautious, safe attitude, I don't know how people are going to handle it. I just don't.
Well, and also psychologically, if you think about it, last year in our sports leagues, those that shut down or those that, started later on in 2020. But what is it in theory we were doing, Mark? We were getting better every day.
Right.
Okay, so that in theory, we were working towards less restrictions. We were working towards crowds. Every day was closer to the light, if you will. Now we're going to do it in reverse, potentially. That's psychologically also a whole different world for us, the fan. Because we started with, it's a party. And now, midway through the party, we're being told, hey, some of you got to leave. Or if you stay, you got to do this. And what do you do? I mean, the NFL's, I'll say this, while they're being very cavalier on the outside about COVID, they are freaking out a little bit behind the scenes because it's getting the money time here.
Well, absolutely. And, that, like, it didn't make sense like yesterday, and maybe it was a timing thing, but if you believe what Baker Mayfield said, and I know his center is the union guy, but they show up after practice and test? How in the hell does that make any sense?
Well, the other thing, and once again, we have desperately, for those of you that are new to the show, we did shows all through the pandemic, didn't take a day off. Some of our best radio, quite frankly. But we have tried to stay away from the political part of this and just talked about its ramifications on sports. And so we're trying to do that again now. We're not politicizing this. You may be as the listener. At least that's our intent. But if you're a league, particularly one that plays the majority of its games outdoors, like the NFL does. Like, come on, we have to acknowledge it's a little different for the NHL and the NBA than
Absolutely.
It is for the NFL.
And even more so for the NHL because they're dealing with a half dozen teams north of the border who are going to set rules differently than we're going to set in this country.
So is the NFL willing to, whether it's lead or whether it's just take the approach of, hey, we can't do more than what we've done, except if you were to mandate vaccines, which they can't because they have to deal with a union, and that's collectively bargained. They've mandated it with league employees, but they cannot mandate it with the players. Yet, as we talked yesterday, Mark, the NFL claims 95% of their players are vaccinated. Mark, aren't these vaccines the intent so that we can live with COVID?
David, this is where people are getting so pissed off. We keep moving the goalposts. That was what we were told, David.
Right.
That's what we were told. And now they're changing how the rules apply. And that's where I have trouble talking about this because we just keep changing the damn goalposts.
And so I'm wondering, will the NFL, and this is just me here, throwing this out here. I haven't talked to anybody, don't know anything. But is the NFL the sports league that's prepared to say, yeah, we've done all we can, and, governors of states have come out and just said we're going to have to learn how to live with COVID. It's not going anywhere. Well, we as a league are going to have to do it too. And believe it or not, we may have guys playing on Sundays who have COVID. Don't know what to tell you. 95% of them have gotten 2 shots, and we're mandating, if we can, as many of them as possible, get a 3rd shot by December 27th. I mean, I wonder if the NFL is prepared, Mark, to go there. Because no other major sports league in North America has yet. But at some point, Mark, I mean, just listening to the medical people, they're saying we're going to have to learn to live with COVID for years, if not forever. Okay, then at what point does one of these sports leagues say the same thing? Yeah, we got 20 people test positive. What do you want me to do? We play football. They got their shots.
They're
now,
all asymptomatic. That's the other part. At what
Right.
point? I mean, that was the point of the shot, so that we can live with COVID.
Now, it's different with those that are unvaccinated. Okay. I think as a league, if you want to go forward and play through COVID, that's fine. But I would not let those that are unvaccinated play. And whether that's being hypocritical
Well,
or
wait a
double
minute.
standard or what?
You wouldn't let them play, period, or you wouldn't let them play if they tested positive?
Wouldn't let them play if they tested positive.
Okay, so you'd let them play against asymptomatic players with the virus.
Right, because you know why I'm doing this.
To get them vaccinated.
There you go, big fella.
Miller,
right.
Look at that, trying to sneak the inside straight. That's our Mr. Wonderful. He's not Paul Orndorff, he's David Moulton. We are Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for listening to the Florida Sports Network.
Mark Miller for Orange Whip Golf and Fitness Power Peel at Home Training System. This complete body and swing trainer uses resistance band connection system to fix bad habits and ingrain a more consistent, powerful swing. The Power Peel system is powered by functional golf swing training technology. It trains both your swing and body at the same time. Simply make a few prescribed resistant band connections, and in a few steps on the peel, you'll swing better, feel better, and play better. Use it before your round of warm-up, as your daily fitness routine, or anytime you want to feel and train the swing you've always wanted. Pair the Power Peel with the Orange Whip Golf and Fitness at Home training technology, available with a monthly membership, and maximize your results with Golf Fitness X coach-led programs that take less than 20 minutes a day. Buy the Power Peel training bundle now for 4 interest-free payments of $115 by going to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10. That's code Miller10 to save $45. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to save $45 and play better golf. Go to orangewhipgolf.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah, Spitz. I mean, Jimmy, I got, and I know exactly where you don't have to, I mean, I know exactly how you stand, bro, but we are doing a radio show here. So if I can't spew the things you're saying. I get it. You hate the mask. You hate everything about this. You think there's a lot of misinformation. We're doing a sports show. Don't know what to tell you. I got to walk a pretty fine line doing this.
So how bad do the Seahawks suck? The Rams have 25 guys on the COVID list. They're 4.5-point favorites. I mean, geez.
By the way, you're losing this vote early. I can't believe this.
Oh, yeah. No. People, no. You're asking for change, Mark. People don't like change.
Right. But people like the home team. In theory, people like the home team.
No, this is going to go down, Mark. It's going to go down 70-30.
Spitz, here's the thing. I mean, I know you can die from the flu, but you can. I mean, people are still dying. That's where COVID's worst. You die. I mean, 800,000 people have died. I don't get flu shots, Gator alumnus, because the effectiveness rate of them are terrible. I only got them when I traveled with a hockey team. It's the only time I ever got a flu shot, when I was a broadcaster for a hockey team, because everybody got one. You didn't really have much of a choice. God, imagine that. They told you to get a shot. And you know what you did, David? You just lined up and got one. Oh, it's a flu shot? Yeah. Do I have to get it? No, but I just assume you do. You're traveling with the team. In fact, you know what? Get the damn shot. Okay. And like the military people bitching about not getting shots. Are you kidding me? When you sign up, they start sticking you with everything when you go somewhere. Are you out of your mind? I think someone noticed the Paul Orndorff reference.
Thank you.
Got a text on it. And Jimmy, I got it. You said it's 18 times this morning. You've 6 different times you said the same thing. I got it, man. I got it. I got it. Adam, I'm really surprised I didn't get more out of you when I went Paul Orndorff there. You might have been busy, but thought you of all people.
It's been an exhausting week for Adam. I mean, come on.
It really, you know what?
It's very emotional. He's a little spent right now. No, Jimmy, he meant he got your point of view.
I get it. I get right where you stand. You've told me 6 times. I got
Right.
you.
10 seconds.
Right. Thank you, Deadstruck. Mark deserved a little more for that.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"23 minutes past the hour. Thanks so much for being with us on this Football Friday.
Football Friday.
Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. The Florida Sports Network. You can watch this show weekdays, 6 to 10 a.m., and do so on the Miller and Moulton Twitch.tv channel. And if you ever do so, you can sponsor, you can support, but also there is a Twitch chat room in which you can chat not just with us, but with everyone that is listening. If you've never texted the show, well, it's easy. Send FSN Radio, all one word, FSN for Florida Sports Network Radio, to 21,000, and you're in. Security gate goes up, and you can text away. How's the poll question coming?
David, we're taking it on the chin. And I say we because I'm on team no coin toss. But right now, it's a 60-40 split with very, very light voting, which is also an indicator that no one cares about this.
Right.
Because yesterday, both poll questions, heavy, heavy voting.
Well, how did they turn out?
First question was who gets hired first, Urban or Gruden? Tight. 53-47 Urban.
How many voters?
Over one. Anything we went over 100, we're pretty good on this. But there were more people that voted on the important poll question of the day, David. And that was the better dipping sauce for wings. 58% of you had the correct answer.
Yes.
42% of you were incorrect. I was very fired up that
hold on.
And Felipe, the 2 youngins, 21 and 22 respectively, both retweeted it saying, how could anybody pick ranch as the sauce for wings? They were both blue. I love that the younger generation went blue cheese. David hates blue cheese. He went ranch. You know, people tried to middle it. One of the local TV guys tried to middle it. I'm like, no, answer the question.
Spoken like a local TV guy, not wanting to offend anyone.
Right.
This is sports talk radio. You have to offend people. It's part of the job description. Not everybody roots for the same team. Your local news, we're all part of the community. Isn't just trying to make it better. Give me a break. The communities don't talk to one another anyway. Take a stance, will you? Digress. Spoken like a bitter former local sports TV guy.
But today's
Sure.
poll question, 60-40 right now. No, I don't like the coin toss winning. The question's very simple. Should the home team get the ball first in overtime?
Yes, it should be part of home field advantage.
And David and I don't think just overtime. David and I believe that the home team, basically, in today's world, the home team's kicking off a lot because they want the second half. They would defer most of the time.
Yeah. And the way that the games have a rhythm, they like I'll get the last possession of the first half, first possession of the second half thing. And if there's weather involved, I usually get to dictate which way I want to go into or against the wind for the fourth quarter. But I just think it should be part of home field advantage. You're home. You get to decide at the beginning of the game, how is it you want to go? And then everybody knows, by the way, we go to overtime, home team gets the ball first. Why? Because they're at home. It's good to be the king, as they say.
Right. David, we got a lot of text yesterday, and I was going through them this morning because some people, you can download the show, obviously, at all the usual places, plus millerandmoulton.com if you missed any of the show. And so we get texts throughout the day. And I did catch one that says, you guys seem to be enjoying saying Urban Meyer has been fired way too much. And I don't know if it was enjoying more than it was the hilarity of the situation, because I don't root for anyone to get fired ever. As someone who has been fired as much as Miller and Moulton have, we do not root for people to lose their jobs. But when Shad Khan came out and said, I'm not going to make a hasty decision, you thought that Urban was going to survive the year. You did. You did not think that Josh Lambo would talk to the Tampa Bay Times and there would be a story 48 hours later saying that the coach kicked me. Hard.
Yeah, we were enjoying, come on. Only 4 coaches have never lasted a full first season in NFL history. 4. So, I mean, that the story in and of itself screams grease fire. Secondly, anybody who gets fired while most of you are asleep. I mean, that's the part that that's the glee when we were saying, by the way, while you were sleeping, the Jaguars fired Urban Meyer. I mean, come on. That had entertainment value in and of itself. When people are waking me out of a sound sleep in Los Angeles, and they know I'm asleep, to go, hey, dude, you may want to know this. You're doing a sports talk show in about 5 hours. Urban just got canned. Huh.
So, and the fact that Urban's a fraud. Urban's a liar. And yeah, I took pleasure when people like that get gassed a little bit because he plays the holier than thou crowd all the time. And I'm sorry. Sometimes that'll bite you when you're not the person that you say you are.
Well, boy, were people lining up yesterday. I mean, we were just laughing at the totality of the story. I mean, I think Urban's a legendary college coach.
I do too.
Right. I mean, we've joked about it, but Urban's had a distant relationship with the truth for a very long time. I mean, he just has. Some people have a very close relationship with the truth. Some people ignore it. Urban's more the latter. But we acknowledged what he is. I mean, he's one of those guys, quite frankly, if you had one game to win, Urban's on the short list of you'd want him to coach your team for one game. I mean, he prepares the team for a big game as well as anybody who's ever done it. I mean, there are a lot of people. I mean, Lou Holtz has many detractors. There are people who are his detractors who say, if I had one game to win, I'd let Lou Holtz prepare my team.
Yeah, I think a Lou Holtz versus Urban Meyer game with similar talent, your IROC Racing Series, David, would be a hell of a football game. It
Right.
would. And I don't like either coach. as the person, but I'll let him coach that game, and I'd have a ball watching it, David. I absolutely would.
And one was a bit of a mentor to the other.
One of the best comments I've seen in the Twitch chat room, we talked about the grease fire that it was, and I don't know who said it, David. It said calling that a grease fire is an insult to grease fires.
Yeah.
And I think that's an accurate statement.
It's true. Grease fires are like, hey, now, we are not that. I mean, that's in its own league right there. I will say, speaking of Lou Holtz, if you're not familiar with his 1 year in the NFL with the Jets, go to NewYorkPost.com and read Mike Vaccaro's column, who points out that as bad as you think Urban Meyer's 13 games were in Jacksonville, they're not as bad as Lou Holtz's 13 games with the Jets in the mid-70s. So there,
right, exactly. And by the way, we are not trying to eliminate the coin toss from the most important game. Someone said you've got to have the coin toss for prop bets. Well, the coin toss is only a prop bet for one game. That game happens to be a neutral site game. And the pomp and circumstance that goes with the coin toss and whoever you bring out, the former Super Bowl MVP or whatever the case may be, the hero of that town, it's good theater. It's good television. Not to mention, you have a ton of eyeballs on the Super Bowl that don't normally watch football and the house parties that are betting on heads and tails. No. Leave that one. Hell, you could even have, you can coin toss that one for overtime if you have to. That would be different. That's the one neutral site game.
But we feel regular season NFL, no need for a coin toss. Okay.
And there has to be something to home field advantage.
Because there's hardly any advantage to home field advantage now. The opposing teams are too well coached. They're too well prepared. That's our take. That's why it's a poll question. You can disagree, and so far the majority of you are. We expected to lose this vote. We did.
But we are
dying on that hill.
End the coin toss.
Right. We are dying on this hill.
I like it. I'll die on this hill with you, Moulton.
I will
die on the coin toss hill. I will sit on top of that $50 and fall to my doom, David. I am there for you.
Every community has a candidate who continues to run for whatever.
In fact, I told you, David, I'm probably going to run for the board of my HOA. You know what my campaign is? I want to eliminate the coin toss.
You know what?
What does that have to do with our neighborhood? Absolutely nothing, but I've got to start somewhere.
And not only that, because most of what you guys do have nothing to do with our neighborhood either. So there, I'm trying to prove a point. Lee Sterling, Paramount Sports. He'll make his picks. We'll make ours next. Pat Kirwan at the top of the hour to talk all things NFL, and we'll throw this theory at him. I think we did so a few years ago. I don't think he was very receptive. We'll see if he's changed his mind. Lee Sterling next, then Pat Kirwan on Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
It's been a great start to the NFL season, and it's only getting better at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. DraftKings is putting new customers in the center of the action with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Get in on the action now. It's simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Feel the NFL action like never before with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And the best part is you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings app now and use code M&M. This week, new customers can get a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Enter code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. That's code M&M only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I'm having a brain fart. Is this name Urban Meyer or Urban Myers?
Meyer.
Yeah, it's Meyer. Yeah.
So, I went down a Stern Hill rabbit hole yesterday listening to the Billie Eilish interview. And one, she was hysterical, but I went from that. Hi, Lee.
Morning.
Went from that to Mark Ronson, who produced Rehab by Amy Winehouse there.
Mm-hmm.
She told the story that basically they just met, and she comes into the studio. He's outside waiting for her, and he just had her first album out. He was, "You're Amy, right? I'm Mark." And she's like, "I'm here to see Mark Ronson." He's like, No, I am Mark Ronson. And he's a young dude. And she goes, "Oh, I expected like some old Jewish dude with a gray beard." And so they start talking, and she wants to go buy a sweater or a shirt for her boyfriend. And she was apparently in a pretty good place. And the whole song started. She was, my mom, my dad, my manager wanted me to go to rehab. And I was like, no, and put the hand out. And he just looked at her and he's like, "We need to go to the studio now. That's a song."
Did you say Billie Eilish has a boyfriend?
No, Amy Winehouse does. Was two stories. You just jumped right in the middle. But anyhow, I love the writing process. And she wrote that song in 30 minutes.
That's awesome.
She's super talented.
She's dead.
Right.
Again,
Lee, top of the morning to you.
You jumped to the second story. Okay, you're
I'm back and forth. Hey, Lee, how's it going?
I'm good. Can't complain. Tell you, after I've had finished my first cup of coffee, to be honest with you.
There you go. Glad you texted me, Lee. Sorry about that. I completely blanked out.
Right. Happens. So, I mean, this is the craziest week. Let's talk. I mean, we got to talk about how I handicap with all these COVID cases, opt-outs.
Well, it's like I wish I'd have Michigan State before the quarterback. I liked him yesterday. I did, and I'm a Spartan, but I liked him even with the running back out. I'm like, that's okay. That's not the
wait, what happened? Is there more news besides Walker's out?
Yeah, the quarterback's out for Pitt.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
Yeah,
my guys haven't gotten in yet.
He's not playing in that game.
He said, "No, the hell with this. I'm preparing for the draft."
By the way, my football theory yesterday.
Pickett.
So my theory is
Pickett's not playing. You're saying,
right?
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
But
Walker's out too.
Right, I knew that.
But then Pickett jumped out later yesterday.
Yeah.
But so here's my football theory. Baker Mayfield to the Detroit Lions, because that's a match made in heaven. They get rid of him. He goes to the Lions, and Cleveland selects Pickett before Pittsburgh can in the draft.
Ooh.
All down hard with all these COVIDs. That's my football wild.
Let me tell you something. The Steelers want him so bad.
I know, and if Cleveland was ahead of them, Pittsburgh, they would have to trade to get ahead of him if they end up worse than Cleveland. And Cleveland with COVID could end up losing out right now.
Yeah, could happen. I think they're going to lose this weekend, so we'll see. You just can't get by without 3 starting offensive linemen. Landry's still, I think, and there's going to be some guys that on Saturday for this Sunday games and later, when's the last time you can pass a test and be ruled able to play?
90 minutes before the game.
Oh, wow. So there's going to be
in theory, like we were waiting on Chris Jones last night to, no word from the Chiefs, but in theory, if he had passed 2 tests in a row, when they set their roster 90 minutes before kickoff, you find out whether or not the COVID people are eligible.
Yeah. And so he took the test and
we don't know. We literally, 90 minutes before the game when he wasn't activated off the COVID list, we knew.
I was looking at Twitter to see if they were going to fly him out on a private jet.
Well, I was, like Lee, and I don't want to spend too much time on that, but I mean, how many people, how is your whole staff like 90 minutes before a game? How many people do you have looking at inactives?
Oh, I got 2 guys. That's all they'll be doing the next 3 days. That's it.
And then 90 minutes before, you just flooding Twitter to find it out. You have, go guys, because every beat writer pretty much. I mean, the beat writers do a pretty good job of getting it out there.
Yeah, they do. But
is that your source, Lee? Twitter to get this stuff?
Twitter is by far. Yeah.
15 seconds.
All right, here we go. We're coming back.
All right.
Now the teams do have to post it on Twitter.
Right.
90 minutes beforehand. They're supposed to by rule.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Pat Kirwan to talk all things NFL coming up at the top of the hour. A little late getting to Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports, ParamountSports.com, 800-400-9741. So, Lee, let's cover some ground. First off, thanks for joining us, and an early merry and a happy, since this will be the last time we talk this year. But how do you deal with COVID from a betting standpoint?
It's difficult. Last year was crazy, and now the last, week has been insane. I mean, I have two guys that will literally, from the time they step in here in the next half hour, 45 minutes, until we leave at probably 10, 11 o'clock tonight, they'll be checking Twitter nonstop. I mean, that's their job on the internet. If something breaks, through Google, sometimes an article will pop up. So, got to work hard. It did work out for us last year during the season and in the bowl season. The only good thing is there's, college football, there's only 41, 42 games left. So, and it starts actually at 12 noon today. They're starting a day early, but
damn right, Bahamas Bowl, baby.
Right. I don't know if you remember, but first Bahamas Bowl, I had a friend who played in it. I think FIU was in it. Or it was like Eastern Michigan. They had trailers set up where a guy that was a locker room. They literally had about 400 or 500 people at the game. That's it.
And they will pretty much for all these. It's the bowl I want to bring to Southwest Florida, where Miller and Moulton are headquartered. We have Hertz here. It's my Hertz Bowl. It's my dream to bring that bowl to Southwest Florida. But let's get to the actual games that we're picking, because as David said, we're a little pressed for time today and want to get to a lot of information. Florida and UCF. As much as I think it would be great to see UCF win this game, I think it could be depressing for UCF, because I don't think they're going to. And this is a bad Florida team that can pat them on the head and said, we weren't even any good and we beat you.
I agree with you. I think since Josh Heupel left, he left the cupboard pretty dry. I mean, and now Gabriel's leaving. They have a couple decent receivers, maybe, one decent back, but their quarterback is just not good enough to play at this level, in my opinion. So the craziest thing is how Emory Jones is going to hit the transfer portal, but he's going to play in the game. But I think it's too much talent, and I think they win this game something like 34-24.
Florida, a 6 to 6.5 point favorite in this game. The Sun Bowl tradition continues, where at least one of the two teams has an interim head coach. Miami, a 2.5 point favorite over Washington State.
So I checked the most important thing for Miami. I checked the extended weather, and it looks like there won't be snow. The last two times that they played there, it snowed. I mean, the craziest thing was Miami's throwing the ball all over the place in a driving snowstorm. They tried a halfback pop pass. I don't know if you remember this, with Joseph Yearby, that basically went straight up in the air, was intercepted. It was a debacle. I think Tyler Van Dyke is going to do a number here, and I think what we're going to see is the offensive coordinator, Rob Likens, for the game, who I respect. I think he's pretty good. I think he did a good job at Arizona State. He just had a true freshman quarterback the year he was there. I think he's going to be aggressive here, even though they will be missing Rambo. Washington State's missing their best running back, Borghi, best offensive lineman, best cornerback, best safety. So I think Miami's the right side here. I think these kids really that are playing either as starters or role players, they want to show big. They want to make sure they put something good on tape for Mario Cristobal, who will be, I'm hearing, up in the press box. I like Miami. I think they win this game 38-28.
Georgia and Michigan, we're already jumping to a semifinal. Yep. This game started out under a touchdown. It's at 8. I'm stunned that the line is moving this way. Stunned so much that, Lee, my first question to you is, if I want Michigan, do I keep waiting? Is this going to even get bigger?
I don't think so. And there's not much difference between like 7.5 and 9 or 9.5. I thought the line was going to come 5, 5.5, 6 points. I think it's too much. You brought up a great point. So I think Michigan's the right side. I don't see that much difference between these two teams. And maybe Georgia's a little bit better line play. But coaching's important. Kirby Smart did a horrible job preparing his team for that Alabama game. If I'm the head coach, I tell him, listen, we need to win this game. This is like a national championship game. We need to knock Alabama out. They're our rival. Game plan wasn't good. Alabama brought it. And I was surprised their defensive line was not as dominant. So I expect them to play better here. But Michigan's game planning against Ohio State and Iowa, I thought was spectacular. I think over the last month, I don't know if there's any other team in college football that's improved more. So I like Michigan here. I think they pull off the stunner, 27-26.
Oh, wrong team's favorite. There's always one every week. All right. It's odd to see the Bucs as an 11-point favorite over the Saints because New Orleans has had their number in the regular season for the last few years, and I believe they're a perfect 3-0 in the regular season against Brady even. But Tampa's an 11-point favorite.
Yeah, and there is something to be said. If a team keeps beating a team, there's something there. I think the New Orleans Saints front seven is really good, and I think that they can keep him in the game. And Taysom Hill, yeah, he had a bad game a couple games ago. It's going to happen. But still, his escapability will help them move the chains at times. And with Kamara back in there, he is a stud running and catching the ball. He is that good. He's top 2, top 3 in the league. So, I mean, you saw last week when he's in how good he can be. So, I think that front seven is going to keep him in. They got a couple good cornerbacks. So, Gronk is the guy you got to look out for. He's almost unguardable. I mean, until they invent a strong safety that's like 6'3", 6'4", and can run a 4.4, 4.5 40, you're not going to be able to guard these tight ends like Kelsey and all these other guys. So I think it's going to be a close game. I have Tampa Bay winning the game 31-24, but I'll take the 11.
And finally, in what should just be a thriller, the Miami Dolphins and the New York Jets. It's a rivalry that no one cares about except for Miami and Jets fans. And that means it's the biggest game in the world because the Jets play in it, and the New York media. It's 10. Hey, Tua's been playing really well. We have a whole group of people that just love to bash Tua on a regular basis. He's been getting the job done. Will he get it done enough to cover that big number?
Well, the loss of Jalen Waddle is huge. And then maybe even a bigger loss in this game is Javon Holland for Miami, the safety. So what we've seen is the Jets like to throw the ball down the field. And I think missing him could be a huge loss here. Miami's not a big score. I have like 10 different things that I look at and I try to never do. And one of them is lay double-digit points with a team that doesn't score much. Unless Miami's handed like 3 or 4 turnovers in the Jets territory, I can't see them scoring more than 24, 27. So if the Jets score 2 touchdowns, probably going to cover. I think Miami wins the game 23-16. I'll take the 10 points in the Jets.
You may see it at 9.5 in places as well. Your game of the week, Colts, 2-point favorite hosting the Patriots.
On another note, have you guys seen the Hard Knocks end season for the Colts?
Have not.
Okay, so I love the Hard Knocks whole trilogy, but this past year the Cowboys was awful. Worst one. This Indianapolis Colts end season is interesting. They have some likable players. They have some characters. Really, I think this team is pretty special as far as the togetherness on the team, and I find it compelling. So for people out there, it might be something they might want to watch. They want to get that game. This is a big game for them against New England. Goes tomorrow. You want to get it? Call 800-400-9741. I have a strong opinion on this game. 800-400-9741, and double down December. Normally $297. Use coupon code SAVE200. Just $97 through December 31st. Last year, we won 27 of the last 36 games from the first bowl game through the Super Bowl.
Lee Sterling, Paramount Sports, ParamountSports.com, 800-400-9741. A merry and a happy, Lee. Be safe, be well in your travels, and we'll talk to you again on the eve of the national title game.
Same to you guys, your staff, and all the listeners out there. Have a happy, healthy, and safe holiday.
Lee Sterling. He took the Gators, laid the points against UCF. He took the Canes and laid the 2.5 in the Sun Bowl. He's taken Michigan to win outright, and he's also getting 8. He's taking the points with the Saints and taking the points with the Jets, even though he thinks the Bucs and the Dolphins will win.
I could bet 5 games just on the bowl games for this week, just so you know.
Okay.
I mean, I am fired up. So I don't know when we're doing our picks, probably after we have Pat on, but I'm fired up and ready to go because I don't think these 4 minutes are enough time for me to get through my analysis of just the Bahamas Bowl, David.
Well, you are chomping at the bit then. I mean, when you're usually we just squeeze these in because, let's face it, we're afraid of ourselves. We see our shadows and we run. We're hoping to go 3-2 and expecting to do worse. So, okay. I like it that you're feeling good about your picks.
I mean, I can jam them in. I mean, if you're ready, I can jam them in.
Okay.
All right.
You're the one above 500. So
all right, here we go. It's a lot of action today and tomorrow. Northern Illinois is a covering machine. Don't mess with the Huskies. Coastal Carolina has no idea what they're in store for this evening. They're getting 11. They might win outright. It's a better offense for Northern Illinois than there is for Coastal Carolina. Northern Illinois might win this game outright. I'll take the 11. Wow. Toledo is going to blow out Middle Tennessee State. Sorry, Ryan, in the Twitch chat room. Lay the 10.5 and take the Rockets all day long. I can't say the same for Eastern Michigan. I can't believe they're actually in a bowl game, David, and they get to play Liberty. Liberty minus 9.5 is the play all day long. That takes us to Sunday. I've got to take the Rams. Even if Vegas is saying they're a 4.5-point favorite with all this COVID, don't you just have to take that play? I'm sorry.
Okay, to review very quickly, the Rams have 25 players on their COVID list. They're a 4.5-point favorite against Seattle. That means they have truck drivers that are playing against the Seahawks, and they're still a favorite.
Yep. That's the way I see it. And I'm going to take the Dolphins and lay the points. I disagree with Lee.
I'm taking the Titans straight up against the Steelers. It's in Pittsburgh. I'm taking the road team. I am predicting, Mark, that the Jags are free at last. Thank God Almighty we are free at last. And they play as if they're a real football team, and they cover the 5 at home against Houston. That's stupid. I know you're 2 bad teams. You always take the points, but it's the Urban Meyer factor, Mark. Cincinnati. You know what? I'm dying on the Joe Burrow hill. I just am.
I thought about it.
3rd week in a row, I'm taking the Bengals, and I know that, as soon as I start betting them, they're losing. But I'm taking Cincy getting 2.5 at Denver. It's Joe Burrow against Teddy Bridgewater. Come on, I got to pick the better quarterback. Cleveland's getting 3.5. First off, I think half the guys on the list will end up playing. And secondly, I don't know that the Raiders show up, to be honest with you. I think their season may have ended at Arrowhead. Give me Cleveland and the 3.5 at home. And I think Buffalo, after back-to-back losses, is going to name the score against Carolina. I'll lay the 10.5 in upstate New York.
There you have it. Miller, Moulton, and Lee Sterling all making their picks here on Miller and Moulton. Pat Kirwan coming up on the other side. We'll get into all of the NFL games as well as getting into what they plan on doing with COVID. And is it possible that we have flipped Pat Kirwan on the hashtag end the coin toss?
That's right. We're going there. We want to end the coin toss, except in the Super Bowl.
Our poll question, should the home team get the ball first in overtime? And David and I want to go further than that. We want to end the coin toss, period. Whole game. Miller and Moulton. Pat Kirwan comes up next right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
The Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, roars through the streets of beautiful downtown St. Petersburg, February 25th to the 27th. 3-day tickets are on sale now at gpstpete.com. It's fast, fun, family entertainment jam-packed into 3 days. The weekend is highlighted by the NTT IndyCar Series race taking the green flag on Sunday afternoon. It all happens at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, February 25th to the 27th. Get your tickets at gpstpete.com to secure the best seats.
It's been a great start to the NFL season, and it's only getting better at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. DraftKings is putting new customers in the center of the action with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Get in on the action now. It's simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Feel the NFL action like never before with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And the best part is you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings app now and use code M&M. This week, new customers can get a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Enter code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. That's code M&M. Only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Nice. Mark, do you like how that new Firestone spot adds?
Sounds way better.
Yeah, it sounds better.
Way better.
I hated how the other one sounded.
Well, you're popping peas everywhere.
The poof, 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 poof.
It was good for a race, though.
I was also using my mic. My mic sucks. Hey, Twitch chat, you want to hear a fun fact that doesn't have to do with the NBA? It's to do with my life.
I don't know. You better hurry because I got stuff I want to talk about.
I witnessed the 20th perfect game in MLB history.
Did you really?
Yes, I did. I could say that I saw a perfect game.
That's pretty cool.
Very special moment. Roy Halladay. Rest in peace.
Did you see what the NFL or what the restaurant that Jackson Mahomes went to did to Jackson Mahomes?
Yes. Oh my God. Mark, if you haven't gotten you know what? I'll send it to you on Twitter.
I've got it. I've got the Instagram thing right here.
Okay, I'm confused.
Jackson Mahomes trashed a restaurant because he didn't get in Kansas City and went on TikTok and made a video telling people not to go there, how they treated him poorly.
Who is Jackson Mahomes?
Patrick Mahomes' brother.
Okay, well, no offense. I know his father. I don't know his.
Okay, well, his brother's been the one that's
fiancée.
His brother's the one that's been famous for doing all the internet stuff for 2 years.
Yeah.
He's honestly, he's kind of a common name. That's why I thought you knew.
No, sorry, I haven't seen him once.
For the better,
because they put him on. They put him on TV during games with some of the crap he's done online. He's a very popular internet star, quite frankly, TikTok star, whatever you want to call him. Restaurant. We are sorry that we set up binaries that you tried to ignore. Oftentimes, people with unearned status and a sense of entitlement think they are above the rules and will lash out at the employee enforcing them. We are sorry we could not see your very large group. As you saw, our bar is very small. We are sorry that we do not have the reach that you do, or at least that you think that you do. Instead of using it for something positive, you decided to use it and crush a small business. We survived a global pandemic. We will survive your ego. We are sorry you didn't reach out to us first before taking to social media. But then again, it is an exception we would expect from a mature and rational person, not someone who pours water on fans and dances on memorials of tragically lost people for TikTok clout. We've been fortunate enough to be born into a much more talented. We've not been fortunate enough to be born into a much more talented and much more famous family, but we would like to think that if we did, we would have much luck using our influence in more responsible ways. We hope our apology finds you well. Oh, I mean, and the internet gobbled this up.
Put him in a body bag.
That's the bar stool. A local Kansas City restaurant just put Jackson Mahomes into a body bag. That's a lead story. It's a number 2 story on Barstool right now. Nope, sorry. Number 1 story on Barstool. That's his audience.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, Sonny, you're a Huron. You graduated as a Huron, not as a Wildcat or whatever the hell they are now.
Yeah, Eagle. Aren't they the Eagles now?
Eagles, that's it.
Oh, I got to call Pat.
Yeah, you do.
10 seconds.
Roy Holiday's perfect game.
KD's last 5 games.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And we are halfway home for those of you in the 239, and we are entering the final hour of not just the show, but our week for those of you in Tampa, St. Pete. And we are thrilled for all of you that you are spending at least part of your day and your weeks with us. Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. You could take us in not just on the radio, but also feel free to watch us, follow us, subscribe to us, the Miller and Moulton broadcast on the Miller and Moulton Twitch.tv channel. It's 6 to 10 a.m. weekdays. And, well, it's a little different because during the commercial breaks, we talk to one another and chime in, and it's a little lively.
It's forced us to talk to one another during commercial breaks. For 12 plus years, we spent that time ignoring one another.
We really did. Gentlemen, that is way too difficult to ignore, and why would we? He's a friend of the show and a friend. He's Pat Kirwan. Moving the Chains weekday afternoons on NFL radio, and he's also part of CBS's NFL Today show. Pat joins us twice a week during the season, courtesy of Pinchers. From Tampa to Key West and many points in between, Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Boy, it's a hell of a way for Thursday Night Football on Fox to go out, Pat, wasn't it?
It was a great game. I thought the Chargers would win it. I was thinking Kansas City like everybody else. And then yesterday, the more I looked at Herbert and his success against those guys and no Chris Jones, which I thought they really did a nice job of taking advantage of, running the ball up inside. But at the end, just kick the field goals, right, Mark? Can you just kick the field goals? Did you fire anybody from analytics this morning? I don't know.
Well, you know, David made the point early on that going for it the first time, he basically set up what he was going to do. And I'm like you, Pat, at the end of the half, I literally said out loud to nobody, to the 2 cats and the dog, I'm like, kick it. And knowing that he wasn't going to, because I'll take, you know, David said this earlier, that he made his mind up early of how he was going to coach that game and never deviated from it, Pat.
Yeah, to me, he didn't think his team was as good as their team. That's what that means to me. Hey, we got to keep going for it because we can't stop them. You know, give yourself a little more credit. And all I know is you guys, I think less and less, but too many guys pay attention to probability reports from the analytics department. Kick it. You're moving the ball really well. You're up and down the field. Stop giving them more credit than you give yourself.
Pat, and I don't know if there's any way to find this out, but we have an analytics crew as part of the Fox broadcast, and I'm sure CBS and NBC and ABC, ESPN do as well. And before all of those 4th down plays, I had someone from analytics in the truck tell me what the percentage was, positive or negative, by going for it. And analytically, every 4th down decision he made was the correct one. So, you know, Pat, if analytics are going to rue the day, then everyone's going to be doing this in due time. Pat, the argument we would be having, I think, if the 3 of us were in the room with the head coach and the analytics department, is your numbers are based on 1,000 or $10,000 10,000 plays. We got 62 plays tonight. Okay. And you've got to have a feel for this game, this moment, not the numbers over the course of a season. Isn't that the discussion that teams really need to be having about what to do with the analytics?
Yeah, well, analytics is no more than cross-referencing old data. It's nothing about today, and it's certainly not about tomorrow. It's about the past. They're going to tell you what the past has been in order to predict the present. There are more coaches that don't buy any of it. Now, I didn't say I didn't buy some of it, but we've been using analytics for 50 years. Now we just decided to label it analytics, and some owners that don't even know how to own are basically telling their coaches to do what the analytics department tells them. I've had coaches tell me right and left that they can't stand Tuesday mornings because the analytics department, who never coached or played, stand in front of the staff and tell them what to do in the game. If it gets to what you predicted there, David, we don't even need a coach. We need a computer on the sideline to tell our players what to do. So does the analytics department tell anybody the psychological effect of not making those fourth downs instead of kicking field goals before the halftime and going in with a bigger lead, a lead that probably was going to win the game? No. They just tell you what you should do, and then they go and hide in the hole, which is what they always do.
And Pat, it's funny. I'm just, as you were sitting there to replace computers, I'm going, yeah, that's pretty much what they've done in baseball, and it's really worked out well for the popularity of that sport. I mean, it is something.
I don't follow baseball anymore. I don't have time, but has anyone pitched 9 innings?
Oh, that doesn't happen hardly ever anymore, Pat. That doesn't work. All right, I
don't think it never happened.
I want to talk a little urban and just put a bow on the story that's for radio talk show hosts, unfortunately, Pat, that's a gift that keeps on giving, but this thing turned out to be a disaster, and all I want to do is compliment you, because every time someone hires a college coach, and it's not going all that well for Matt Rule, but first-time coaches, and Pat, I was a guy working in hockey who hated seeing the retreads of the coach. Why not give this guy who had been a head coach in the minors a shot? And some work and some don't. But Pat, if Jacksonville goes out and hires a first-time coach, no one should ever buy a season ticket for them again. It's time to let an adult run the room.
Yeah, what I said yesterday, I'd love to take from both of you. The Jaguars, they're not alone, but let's just use them as they need a board of directors consumed with former coaches, former general managers, maybe a retired league official, someone who can help the owner learn how to own and help them make decisions. These guys don't even know how to interview coaches. They don't even really know what to ask. They think they do, which makes them more dangerous than ever. But look, Vegas thinks Byron Leftwich is getting the job. Bart Scott yesterday told me he's the perfect guy for the job, as long as he brings Jim Caldwell along to show him how to do it. There are places where a young guy, Mike Tomlin, can go when the team is a pretty good football team and the young coach can learn to coach while he's got a good team. But almost all these jobs are bad teams, and you end up putting a kid in place who's not ready for it. And the media and the fans aren't going to permit a coach who's brand new to have 5 years to learn how to do it. It's always the same thing. It's a 3-year deal. It's cheap. And after 2 years, they're ready to dump most of them. And if every so often 1 out of 10 is really good, you give an extension. If the Jaguars do that, Mark, they aren't going anywhere. So I don't, and I have nothing against Byron. But the world is now painting Byron as this guy that really knows how to coach Brady. The guy I hired, the head coach, would be Brady. So, no, they need to hire. But now the question will be, well, who's out there with experience? What side of the ball do you want the guy from? Because of Trevor Lawrence, do you have to have an offensive head coach? I don't know. That's the most important thing. Can you find a leader of men that knows what he's doing, that has a sense of all the things involved with being a head coach? I don't need to hear, well, he's really never dealt with the media. Oh, he doesn't really understand the cap. He doesn't, I don't need to hear any of that. And Jacksonville better get this right. because they just keep getting it wrong.
Pat, for the record, our index card that we would hand to Mr. Khan based on a very short discussion on air yesterday, we ruled out every single person who's never coached a game before in the NFL. We're not going Bieniemy. We're not going Leftwich. This is too much of a bad situation. I need an adult. I need someone who's done it. And quite frankly, someone who's done it and had success. So we came up with there's 5 or 6 people, and that's about it. We are leaning offense. The 2 defensive guys we'd put on the list would be Del Rio and Dan Quinn. But otherwise, we went Josh McDaniels, and even that was our wild card. But we went Jim Harbaugh, Jim Caldwell, who's probably our leader in the clubhouse, and Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson, who won a Super Bowl, obviously, and is an offensive guy. But, I mean, we're limiting it to you must have had – and Bill O'Brien. Those were our 6, 4 of them offense, 2 defense. You must have head coaching experience. You must have been a winner to some degree. And we're leaning offense because of Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, and McDaniel, I don't think really that made David's list. He didn't even make mine. I think it's a nice choice. But Caldwell is our leader, Pat, for what it's worth.
I have no problem with Jim. He got screwed in Detroit. Now history will show people that he did a heck of a job in Detroit. And he had things that none of these guys have, winning records. Might be inclined with Billy O'Brien for a lot of reasons. I like what he's doing right now with the young quarterback. I got a chance to talk to that kid the other day when he was at CBS after he won the Heisman. He knows the division inside out. He's raised young, talented quarterbacks before, a guy named Watson. Age, I think, is a factor with vitality for these jobs. Nothing against Jim, but Pete's old and he's doing fine. Belichick's old. Those guys are doing it. So Jim is fine by me. He also will bring a sense of calm into the building. He's got no real ego. He would care about the players, and I think they need to be cared for and treated like adult men, which I'm sure there's some residual effects of how they've had their experience. So, yeah, I'd be fine with that. But I'm with you guys. The profile is the right one. As I said, you got to interview 3 or 4 guys, but I would not eliminate a defensive guy at this point. Jack Del Rio was there before, so that's not happening. Spags, he's 61 years old. Jimmy Schwartz, some guys like Schwartz. Another guy in Detroit did pretty good when he was in a place that hasn't done much since then.
Yeah, I can't bring a guy. I can't bring a guy that had a donut. I can't do it. I can't go to Jacksonville with as bad as they've been and say, "Here's my coach. He had a winless season in the NFL." Can't happen.
That's never stopped him before, Mark.
Well, it would stop me.
He's Pat Kirwan, moving the chains weekday afternoons on NFL Radio. We'll get to the games when we come back.
Hello, boys.
Hold on, I'm not hearing commercials.
Okay, so
hold on. Are we playing commercials?
We have a bit of a situation right now. The FSN computer reset. It's shut off out of nowhere. And when it shut back and when it turned back on.
Felipe, I don't care and I don't need to know. Are we in a commercial break or are we on the air?
We're in a commercial break.
Okay, that's all I need to know.
Sorry. We're in a commercial break.
Okay.
When we came back,
Felipe, I don't care, and I don't need to know. I just need to know if I can talk to Pat or if we're on the air.
yes.
Okay.
Here's Pat.
Good. Hi, Pat.
Hello, guys. Great to see I'm not the only guy who doesn't care.
Right. I might care more if I was there, but being in a hotel room, there's nothing I could do about anything.
Nope. It's just got to know if we're on it or not. So, great.
Right.
Hey, what a game last night.
Yeah.
You.
Yeah. And it was a good.
You're available to go to hockey games on Wednesday night starting on their home.
Exactly, my friend. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
The next time it's coordinated here in January, I'll be sitting with Childress. You can laugh because one of his closest comrades is Darryl Bevel.
Right. Oh, yeah. Now remember, people can hear us right now. So, but, oh, yeah. Well, we had one of the Jags radio guys on yesterday, and we asked him, so when did you know or think that something was going on? He said, I walked out of the building at 5:30 and Urban's car wasn't there. And he goes, on a Wednesday, that's very unusual. Because those guys are there till 10, 11 o'clock on Wednesday nights.
Hey, we're coming back now. We had a short commercial break because of the technical difficulty. Take your time with the segment.
Great.
Okay. Sorry about that. The computer.
No. That's fine.
Don't worry about it.
Is there a game tonight, Pat?
Yes, there is. Atlanta.
15 seconds.
They played good the other night. Finally.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
Pat Kirwan's our guest. We'll get into all the games coming up momentarily. Weekday afternoons on NFL Radio. You can listen to Pat Kirwan and his co-host Jim Miller 4 hours, 5 days a week, and then they even do a Saturday show as well. Pat joins us courtesy of Pinchers from Tampa to Key West and many points in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Pat, our poll question today is, should the home team get the ball first in overtime? Thought being, should be part of home field advantage. We shouldn't have a coin toss. That's how Miller and Moulton feel. We've felt that way for years. Your thoughts on if the NFL just said, you know what? No more coin toss. Home team gets the ball to start overtime. And for that matter, they get to decide at the start of games too. Your thoughts?
I don't really care about coin toss. I think Andy Reid couldn't have been as funny as he was last night when he said, I took a knee because I knew Melvin Ingram would win the coin toss. Now, we know that was tongue in cheek, but I'm fine with a coin toss. But I'm not fine with if you score a touchdown first, the game is over. We're two-platoon football. This is not a one-platoon game. The strength of my team may be offense, and I lose the coin toss, and my offense never goes on the field. It's ridiculous. You score a touchdown, I get my shot at it, and it's great suspense. We already knew, like in case of last night, Kansas City scores a touchdown. Well, we all know what the Chargers have to do with one possession. Score a touchdown. And we lose that opportunity. So I have a bigger problem with that than who has the coin toss. And I don't believe the home field needs any more advantage than 60,000 screaming fans.
Well, it doesn't work anymore, Pat. The last 3 years, home field's meant absolutely nothing in the league. I mean, the numbers are there. That's the part of this. It's never been a more well-coached league, better quarterback league, ability to go with, no snap counts and all those type of things. So the home field's not, Vegas, it used to be 3.5 in Vegas. Now it's 1.5. So even Vegas thinks it's not what it once was.
That's true for the last 2 years. But I'm not going to sit here and say, well, home field's gone for good. We're not even sure if this is just a abnormal pattern. Yeah, last year was the COVID blame, not this year. So I'm with you, but I'm not going to say unless we get 5 or 6 straight years that home field's gone for good, Mark.
All right. COVID, Pat, just on the whole, the league has said play football. You know, there have been players, and Baker especially, yelling and screaming. Pat, we've got 25 guys on the COVID list with the Rams. I mean, this is, you know, you mentioned the Rams and said they've got stars and truck drivers. Well, they might just have truck drivers this week. So what should the league be doing? How should we be dealing with this? Do you have any thoughts on what's the great unknown?
Yeah, I do. First off, it's now at a crisis where we're going to be way over 100 guys. And now the enhanced protocol teams really, I hate to say this, but they're at a disadvantage. Cleveland, Atlanta, Detroit, those guys, they got to test every day. So what's happening? More and more guys are failing. Here's the thing that really gets me, Mark, and this is it. Here's the hot number. It's 21. If you have 21 guys on your active roster going to COVID and they can't play, all right, let's take a look at that. 53-man roster. Let's say, well, I'll use a team that's in worse shape. The Rams have 25 on. So let's just say they can't play with 25 guys. Well, all the NFL ever did was enhance the practice squad to 16. If you have 25 guys on, that means of your 53-man roster, you have 28 players available. You activate your whole practice squad, and you get to 44. Well, I was in those meetings back when they developed the CBA and when they said, we're never going to, and the reason they had no 50-man rosters per game, well, you know, not everybody would have 50, so you couldn't play a game where I have 48 guys on the sideline, you have 50, so we're never going to go to that number. Well, today, we could land up with 25 of the Rams on COVID, 28 active guys available, 16 on the practice squad, total roster 44. Are you going to let someone go out there with less players than the team on the other side when you said you'd never do that? If we get to that point, I think you got to do something about the game.
And as of now, Friday morning, the NFL is not budging. All the games will go off as scheduled. Both of the games tomorrow, Pat, are interesting. Cleveland because of COVID, but the Patriots-Colts game obviously is just a flat old big game for the standings. New England right now is the 1, the Colts one of the 7 and 6s that would be in the playoffs. How do you see this game?
Well, didn't you guys find this the most unusual point spread of the weekend? That the New England Patriots are underdogs by now 2.5. It was 1.5 to open line, and now it's a 2.5. I don't get it. New England, Belichick, that defense off a bye, them as underdogs. I don't see it, so I'm taking New England in this one. And I love that they fall right back. Well, you know, we don't know if Mac Jones can ever play in a game like this. Yeah, I don't even know if Carson Wentz can function well. You know what their record is against winning teams, right? Those Colts, 2-5. So I find that game very strange, and that it's seen that way. I might be all wrong about this, but I don't know. You guys betting against New England? I'm not.
No, and you know, I mean, both teams coming off a bye, so great. That tells me New England's going to win even more. I'm totally with you on that one. How do you see Vegas and the Browns? Because you know, it's go time for the Browns, and they're decimated, but I don't know if the Raiders have quit.
I don't think the Raiders have quit. But now there's a crazy point spread. That opened up on Monday at -6.5, Cleveland. So if you want the Raiders, you got 6.5 points. Now, if you want the Raiders, you have to, I think, give 3.5 points. This thing has swung 10 points, and of course, COVID is the big reason. I don't know. With the enhanced protocols, we could have more guys failing today. So Cleveland's a team that could not have 48 bodies. And, you know, how are you going to sign a guy? Today's it, right? How are you going to sign a guy today to get to 48 where the NFL will be challenged by the scenario I put in front of you? I'd love to see Cleveland win. But the Raiders, they actually have some talent, and the quarterback is streaky. If no one's over there playing defense that can stop them, the Raiders could actually win a game here, and it would be a lousy day for Cleveland to go down like this Although I'll ask you guys, because I can't get a straight answer from me or anybody else. Who's winning the AFC North? Take a look at that division. Is Baltimore going to win this week? No. Is Pittsburgh able to win anymore? I don't know. I think this division is so crazy. I can't figure it out. But I think Cleveland, whatever chances they had, are probably going down the tubes with this COVID issue.
I'll say this. I think whichever AFC North team wins this Sunday will end up winning the division. The Ravens are an underdog at home. The Browns are an underdog at home. The Bengals are an underdog on the road. And the game that I want to talk about, Pat, the Steelers are a pick-em at home against Tennessee. You know I've been big on the Titans for 5 years. Man, the Steelers... Is this the week the dam bursts? I mean... Tennessee has not been the same team without Henry.
I'm with you, but that tie might be the reason they win the division someday. But, ask Ron Rivera. He swears by ties to help him get into the playoffs in Carolina. So how do I see the game? Look, T.J. Watt's going to play. It looks like Hayden's going to play. They haven't been crushed by COVID. Ben, the other day, when it was down 29-0, and he went ballistic on the sideline with his young players, I thought that was a turning moment where I thought they might be able to hang in there because Ben just refused, and he almost pulled that game off. So I like Pittsburgh in this game. It'll be ugly. I don't think it's going to be a great scoring game or something, but Pittsburgh has some fight left in them, mainly because of Ben.
Cincinnati and Denver, it's funny when we did our bets, David took Cincinnati. I'm doing it again. I'm going to keep riding. They're the better quarterback. And is he going to get burned at the end of the day? And he shouldn't, because I agree with David. I think Cincinnati's a better team. However, Las Vegas has Denver as a 2.5-point favorite, Pat.
Yeah, back to your home field point, right? Not even getting 3 at home. I just don't see Denver. Now, I talk to their head coach every week. I like him a lot, and he's old school. He doesn't get rattled. He's gonna make sure that they're not going to lose the game. That's how he coaches. The defense, Eddie Donato, I used to coach with Eddie. Eddie's doing a great job with the defense there. They'll play hard on defense. But again, I think Burrow and the receivers, with the division wide open like that, I still think I'd take Cincinnati. And if you'd like to give me a couple of points, I'd be happy with that too.
Bengals have lost 4 of 6, and it all goes back to when they were 5-2 and they lost to the Jets on Halloween. Pat, every now and then we see a team, the Dolphins, when Marino got hurt, they got to 9-2, I think it was, and they lost out. The Ravens just a couple of weeks ago were the 1 seed. Now they're the 4, and they're banged up, and the schedule ain't easy. I mean, could the Ravens just slide away here? They're a big dog at home against Green Bay.
They could slide away, to use your expression. And as long as Lamar's not there, I mean, Lamar is just the X factor and a half. And I wouldn't have gone for 2 last week. I would have kicked that extra point. I would have got to overtime, and then I would have taken my chances on Lamar having 2 crazy plays and Tucker hitting a 55-yarder. But they didn't do that, and now they're in this slip slide, as you called it, and their schedule is pretty rough, starting with Green Bay. Then they go to Cincinnati. Then they have the Rams. And the Rams are now in a position off their win to think we can still win the division. So yeah, I think they're in some trouble. But nobody in the division is doing well enough for me to go in trouble with whom? Which team in the division is scaring them? They might hang in there just because of the way it is.
I don't know if they're near the destination, David, but they are definitely sliding away. That was my attempt at a Bermanism right there for you, Moulton. The Rams have...
It's good that you're talking between breaks. I can see the new degenerates. It's just the enthusiasm for each
other. The Rams have lost their whole team. They're barely going to be able to field. They're still a 4.5-point favorite, Pat. I mean, I know you talk to Pete all the time. How bad are things in Seattle?
Well, until Tuesday, really, I talked to Pete on Tuesday for a while. This is the number one model about how to handle COVID. Last year, they didn't lose one player for one game. And they were very diligent about it. And the players made a commitment. And right up till Tuesday, they were still batting 1,000. And now they've lost Lockett, 2 or 3 guys. And it's still quite extraordinary considering everyone else's plight. They're going to be healthy. They haven't had great success against the Rams lately. They've already lost them this year, 26-17. But that was one of those days at Robert Wood. That's what Pete wanted to talk about. Robert Wood, man, 12 receptions and over 150 yards or so. So because of Russell Wilson, now Pete swears Rashad Penny's ready to explode here. He had one good game. That's what my answer to that was. I wouldn't underestimate Pete's ability to be in this game. If the Rams come limping in, and Pete's able to bring most of his players, which I'm not so sure about that with the receivers and all that thing going on, but I would think that the Russell Wilson crowd could still win a game. But I don't know. I wouldn't take him, I don't think, unless I hear there's more. But the Rams are my example. You might not have 48 bodies on the field.
Well, and this is worth pointing out, Pat. It's possible, just stay with me here. It's possible Seattle is this year's Washington. Remember, Washington last year was done, put a fork in them, even in that awful division. And they figured something out post-Thanksgiving. Seattle's won 2 in a row here. This is the game. If they can win this game against a depleted Rams team, they get the Bears and the Lions both at home. They could all of a sudden have a 5-game winning streak and be 8-8 and be very viable to make the playoffs as the 7 seed in the NFC. This is the game. Just like Washington out of nowhere went on the road and beat undefeated Pittsburgh last year. And that was what propelled them to the division title. I'm circling this game. That Seattle wins this game, they're going to make the playoffs. If they win this game, I think they'll be in.
I love that you said that, because I'll tell you the last thing Pete said to me, and then it might make you feel like you're on the right track. The very last thing he said to me the other day, he said, well, good luck with this one. Go get it. And he goes, Pat, this is our Super Bowl, and we know it.
Well, let's see how they manage to play in it. Pat, anything else you got out there right now that's on your mind league-wise? You know, there's been some league meetings and any business of the NFL that we're missing here.
Well, I think that tied up with this whole, the Super Bowl is going to be in Vegas. I just keep thinking back to Commissioner Rozelle, never in my lifetime, and we have a team there, and now we're going to have a Super Bowl there. Kind of extraordinary. You've covered a lot of games that intrigue me. Maybe the Tampa Bay thing. Why is Brady throw so many interceptions, and how come he hasn't beaten these guys in 3 regular season games? And I think he'll do it this time. But it's kind of fun to watch with Dennis Allen, who never gets any national recognition for anything. Never hear his name, even though he was a head coach at the Raiders for a little while. That game is going to be one I'll have to watch and want to watch. But when I looked at all the scenarios, Mark, of how people get into playoffs over, this weekend, the one thing that was really common ground, if you look at every scenario in the NFC, almost every one of them involved Minnesota losing. And what does that mean? To Jimmy Miller's way of thinking, the Bears aren't very good right now, but they've always liked playing Minnesota, and they've always played them very well. So maybe there's something to that game as well. League-wide, are they going to let guys play that are asymptomatic? They're going to get to that point. Now, I say no. Jim Miller is praying that they say yes to that, but I don't think so. I'd like to know what you guys think.
Well, and Pat, we're tight on time, but we broached that subject an hour ago, in which, to me, if this continues to spread at the rate that it is increased and spread this week, the NFL is either going to have to postpone, cancel, move games, or they're going to have to allow guys who test positive but are asymptomatic to play. They're not going to be able to be hard line if COVID is going to ramp up the way it seemingly is.
Yeah. Well, stay tuned, because I don't know how much pressure can be applied to them from the networks to put that game on a TV screen.
It is funny. You pay $2 billion a year, and yet seemingly you don't have a voice. It's a hell of a relationship the networks have. It really is.
A one-way contract is always good.
Yep.
Have a great weekend, you guys.
All right, Pat. Be good.
Pat. Mark, it's very much like the deal CBS has with the Masters. It seems like it's a relationship, like it's a partnership.
It's not.
No, it's a benevolent dictatorship is what it is.
And it's worked out, and that one's worked out incredibly well for CBS.
Right.
They're told exactly what to do, how much to pay, when to pay, what commercials to run, and how much to charge for them.
Right.
And they love every minute of it.
They say, thanks for making it so easy.
Yes. What,
Yes.
we're done with Cadillac and Travelers, and now it's Mercedes and whomever? Sure, no problem. Whatever you got to do. IBM, bring them in.
Right. Hello, friends. Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for listening to the Florida Sports Network.
It's been a great start to the NFL season, and it's only getting better at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. DraftKings is putting new customers in the center of the action with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Get in on the action now. It's simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Feel the NFL action like never before with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And the best part is you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings app now and use code M&M. This week, new customers can get a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Enter code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. That's code M&M, only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Morning, Dandy. Where is Satellite Beach?
I believe it's by Cape Canaveral.
Got it. Thank you. Adam, if we're doing a show, we'll be in Vegas for that Super Bowl. Which in theory means we may go to 3 in a row. 2 Fox, and we'll just bulldoze our way through the Vegas one. My guess is Radio Row will be packed. We'll be staying in like Tahoe.
No. Those days are over. Don't even talk that way.
We'll be commuting from Oakland every day.
Might be doing the last hour and 20 minutes alone.
I slept in today, baby. I slept till 2:25.
Holy Toledo.
Yeah. It's not a bad idea. Actually, I got a buddy that lives out there. Gonna have to reach out to him and say, so. Wow, the pool guys have already been to our pool. Man, that's early.
Duncan Robinson seconds. Ten seconds.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
18 minutes before the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. We're live weekdays, 6 to 10 a.m. on the Miller and Moulton Twitch.tv channel. You could watch us. I'm in Los Angeles after the last Thursday night football game on Fox after their 4-year run. NFL Network will have next Thursday's game at Tennessee. And next year, Amazon has Thursday night football. And we'll see what kind of sports network they, in fact, will put together. Lots of talk that they're going to, well, try to be like the 4-letter and like FS1 and all that sort of thing. Goodness knows they'll have the resources. It's just a matter of, will they want to spend it? And Mark, quite frankly, there's an awful lot of groupthink in our society. Will Amazon be the major media player that will try to be mainstream, but not necessarily do programming like mainstream? We shall see.
It is the great unknown. You know, if Amazon was going to jump into the Sunday ticket, I would think a lot more of what you're talking about. When Amazon has basically said we want Thursday night football and we want other things, but we don't want the Sunday ticket. How all in are you on sports if you don't want the Sunday ticket? Isn't that the piece of the pie that says I'm all in, David? Or am I off base with that?
Now, have they said they don't want it, or
Well,
have
they're
people
interested.
just said that they're likely not to get it?
They're interested, but the everything I'm reading now, we don't know because he has the money, is that they're not willing to spend for it what Disney Plus and now DirecTV are. To me, this is DirecTV with Stern. I said it earlier in the week that, Stern on Sirius XM, if he would have left any time in the first 5 years, even 10 years that he was on that platform, the platform would have crumbled. I don't know if it will now. It may be safe, but that to me is DirecTV without the Sunday ticket. What is the point for my television to go off in the rain if I can't watch football on Sunday? I have DirecTV, and I'll tell you flat out, it sucks. There's nothing good about DirecTV. It actually makes Comcast look good. It's so bad. Think about that for a second. What I just said.
I'm just thinking of Marty driving around trying to get clients listening right now to you. That's all. That's why I'm chuckling. But I appreciate your honesty.
It sucks.
I do.
I don't know what to tell you. I pay for it every month, and I'll still continue to pay for it.
The word is that the NFL also likes having as many people in slicing up their pie as possible, that they can get more money that way. That when you start to have a media company that starts to do more than one thing, well, that's bundling. And that in theory, they're giving away some of their product for a little bit less. And so they feel the word is that Amazon's also going to buy like half of NFL Network.
Yes.
And that's something that the league's been wanting to unload for a while. And that Amazon's basically saying, well, we'll do Thursday Night Football for you. We'll get you out of the whole NFL Network thing where you're losing money. And there's other things that we can do, but we can't do it all. And the NFL's going, well, that'd be great because we can just, bend DirecTV over the barrel and just get every last dime that we can from them, or Disney will step up and give us DirecTV money, and that's really what we're looking for. So we'll see.
And look at if they let me ask you this for people out there, just a quick, you can text the show, FSN Radio to 21,000, or if you're in the Twitch chat room, just tell me Disney or DirecTV. If they're both available, if your choices for the Sunday ticket are Disney Plus or DirecTV, where would you go? Because I'm going Disney Plus, and I can't do it fast enough.
So you're doing streaming
over?
Oh,
God, yes.
Okay, well,
because you know what's not going to happen? I'm not going to lose all 4 televisions that are going to go out because it rains at 3:00.
Okay, but for a Fortune 500 company, essentially, that the NFL is, are you willing, like you're doing Thursday Night Football with Amazon. That's bold. In and of itself, that's bold. How are you willing to go that much streaming in 2021-22, or are you going to wait till the next time?
No, David, they're going to do both. The league has said more than likely it's going to be both DirecTV and Disney. What I'm saying as a consumer, my choices are to stay with DirecTV or stream the Sunday ticket. I have a choice. That choice to me is a no-brainer choice.
Got it.
I'm going the streaming. It's actually, to me, far more reliable than satellite television. It truly is. There's a lot of unknowns with satellite. We all know the problems that you can have with it, and they still exist. So I would go Disney Plus in a heartbeat if that's my choice. I'm not saying that that's going to be the only choice. It appears that there are going to be 2 different choices. Why Comcast, as the biggest cable provider in the country, wouldn't jump on something like that. And I think that's deep down what the NFL would hope for, but they don't have nationwide penetration.
In our remaining moments here, particularly for our Tampa St. Pete audience, it is the Sunday Night Football game, and it's not often this late in the season that you'll see NBC gleefully have an 11-point spread on a game, but they get Tom Brady and the Bucs. But Pat brought it up, and we brought it up previous to that. New Orleans has beaten Brady all 3 times they met in the regular season. Now, the important one was the playoff, and the Bucs forced 4 turnovers. Thank you very much. in coming from behind in the second half and winning on their way to the Super Bowl last year. But Mark, I mean, New Orleans has physically overpowered Tampa Bay's offensive line in the 3 regular season meetings. They have a shutdown corner who has gotten in Mike Evans' head a little bit. And they have the ingredients to put pressure on the Tampa offense. The question now is, A, can they do it again? But B, even if they do it again, do they have enough on the other side of the ball to pull off the upset?
I don't think that they do, David. At the end of the day, this is, if Jameis Winston were still there, I would believe that this could be an opportunity for New Orleans to win the game. In fact, the Tampa game home against Winston was the one I thought Jameis would get. I mean, this would have been a huge deal if Jameis was coming back. It would. It's a good thing to sell. It's a lot more fun. Well, he's not playing. Or offensively, they're incredibly challenged. And I don't think that they can get to 30. I don't even know if they can get to the mid-20s. And at the end of the day, even with the shutdown corner and a good defensive line and the fact that Tom Brady's thrown a handful more interceptions than you'd like to see him throw, they can shut down Evans. There's still a Godwin and a Gronk and a Fournette out there, right? At the end of the day, I think they can score enough points, I guess is what I'm saying.
And surprisingly, even though the Saints have the Bucs number these last couple of years in the regular season, Tampa's done a really good job on Kamara. Now, he has scored some touchdowns. For those of you in fantasy, you may be going, what are you talking about? Kamara gets me points against the Bucs. Yeah, but I'll tell you, he barely gets 50, 60 yards of total offense. He manages to get in the end zone inside the 5 once a game. But those linebackers do a really good job on Kamara. And Mark, unless Alvin Kamara is the best offensive player on the field, I agree. I think Tampa wins. But you got to acknowledge the Saints are going to walk on that field not fearing the Bucs at all. In fact, they're going to stand there with their hands on their hips going, we love playing you guys. We're good at it.
Just can't score enough. That's the only problem at the end of the day. I just don't see New Orleans being able offensively to do enough. But, Lee Sterling on the show did say take the points. He said Tampa would win, but he likes the 11 that you get with New Orleans in this game for non-entertainment purposes.
And a few folks in our Twitch chat room, as you were saying, it said, yeah, somehow, some way, New Orleans needs to find points when their offense is not on the field. But they've done that against Brady and the Bucs.
Well, the interception thing, Brady's been giving everybody essentially 7. Like there's been a pick 6, there's been turnovers on the short side of the field. I mean, Tom's done a pretty good job of helping out the other team here lately.
Saints snapped their 4-game losing skid, but it was against the Jets last week, which, basically we hardly consider that an NFL win.
Well, you look at the NFL schedule this week, and it's, thank goodness for Saturday.
I actually think it's been a little better than the last couple Sundays to show you how thin December has been so far.
I thought last Sunday was a little better than this weekend, but David, it's not an argument that we're not dying on that same hill as we're dying on the coin toss hill, if you know what I mean. That is a full question, by the way.
We losing that one?
We're losing it, but we're gaining ground. We were gaining ground. I hadn't checked in a while, David. We're losing, and we're losing ground. Yeah. Should the home team get the ball first in overtime, Pat Kirwan did not help our case whatsoever, as he did not defend this. It is now a 64 to 36% win for the coin toss people. We are not taking the coin toss out of the Super Bowl, everybody. It's the only one that matters. Can't believe it, but that's the way that it goes around here. Tampa St. Pete, have a great weekend. Fort Myers, Naples, Wilton Jackson on the other side to talk Jackson State and Deion Sanders right here on the Florida Sports Network.
The Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, roars through the streets of beautiful downtown St. Petersburg, February 25th to the 27th. 3-day tickets are on sale now at gpstpete.com. It's fast, fun, family entertainment jam-packed into 3 days. The weekend is highlighted by the NTT IndyCar Series race taking the green flag on Sunday afternoon. It all happens at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, February 25th to the 27th. Get your tickets at gpstpete.com to secure the best seats.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
It's been a great start to the NFL season, and it's only getting better at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. DraftKings is putting new customers in the center of the action with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Get in on the action now. It's simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Feel the NFL action like never before with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And the best part is you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings app now and use code M&M. This week, new customers can get a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Enter code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. That's code M&M, only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
He's David Moulton. You can't even consult him. He goes so hard and he's hot like molten. Lava.
Is this just coming to you?
Bars. Because I'm like, what rhymes with molten?
Not much.
Yeah. I'm like, molten lava. That's what it is.
Right. Yep.
Now, when you were little, did people ever do that? Were they like, oh, your last name is Molten Lava?
There were a couple of guys who did. What was funny was in grade school, there were two Davids who both had M as their last name. And you know, when you're little, they do everything alphabetically.
Right.
And so his last name was Martinez and mine obviously is Moulton. And so the teacher and then the kids would call him May, M-A, and call me Mo, M-O.
Oh, that's cool.
So,
see, another thing I've always thought about is if my name wasn't Felipe and if my name was Milton, it would be the Miller, Moulton, and Milton. That'd be perfect.
Wow, 1 month he's put himself on the show.
No,
You know,
no.
15 years we've done this.
Okay,
for the
okay.
record.
Imagine if I was with you for 15 years.
Then
Imagine,
you would have started at
All right.
5.
Let's go hypothetical now. I don't exist. I do not exist in this world. And Miller and Moulton have a third
He
person.
doesn't realize that when I take these off, I'm done listening to him.
right.
Take them right out of my ears, and I just go like,
Right. Yeah. You're talking to me now, Felipe.
Miller plus Moulton equals Milton show. Can you imagine?
Whoa.
Hey, Felipe, let me ask you a question on all that. Are the first 2 hours from yesterday's show online anywhere?
We talked about it this morning.
Oh, I know.
You were going to show me how to extract it, and I was going to post it. Did we not talk about that?
I know you, but you already wanted to be added to the show.
That's not. Oh, God.
10:30.
I'm gonna call Wilton.
No, it's the 21st. You're right. So yeah, Tuesday, 12:30, and I picked the barium up at that location at 10:30. Yeah, or drink it because I live 5 minutes away. Drink it, go home, and come back. Yeah. So. Yeah. So yep. Tuesday 12:30. I'll be there and pick up the stuff at 10:30. Yes. Right. Got it. Got it. Got it. Okay. I gotta run.
Bolton's on hold.
Okay.
And we're back in 15.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. Now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It's the bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. The Florida Sports Network, thanks so much for being with us. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when a recap of our picks. It is all coming up. Wilton Jackson is kind enough to join us for the first time. You can follow him on Twitter at Wilton Reports. He writes for Sports Illustrated. He also is a host of HBCU Game Day. Wilton, David, and Mark, thanks for your time. How are you this morning?
I'm doing really well, and thank you guys for having me on the show.
Well, it is our pleasure.
Well, Wilton, let's start. I mean, it was the get of signing day when Dion can flip a guy to go Florida State to Jackson State. I don't care if Barstool did it. I don't care who did it. He flipped someone to an HBCU. That's a big deal to us. Wilton, explain how big it is in your world.
You know, it's a really big deal, not only for Jackson State, but it's also big for HBCUs in general. And if you've been following Jackson State over the last year since Dion was hired on September 21st, 2020, he came in saying he wanted to change the landscape, he wanted to change the narrative, and that he was going to shock the world. And so while many people, as he said in recent weeks specifically, while many people didn't believe, he believed all the time. Like, he believed that, you know, the team was going to win a championship. He believed that they would have success. He believed that he would get players that he wanted to come to the program that would enter the program. I remember him saying vividly after the unprecedented spring season when Jackson State was having some issues and different things like that, and his recruits weren't able to play yet. He said the team would look much different in the fall. And so far, and thus far, you have to say that he was correct. You know, he had his players that he brought in. He brought in a top recruiting class from the spring that was able to play this fall. And so getting a player of caliber like Travis Hunter, the top player, to come in this year's recruiting class, to flip him from Florida State to Jackson State, that's a huge deal. And it's a huge deal for the program. And it's not going to be the first time that you see this for Jackson State. I think you're going to see more of this to come.
He's Wilton Jackson. He covers Jackson State and HBCUs for Sports Illustrated. You can follow him on Twitter at Wilton Reports. Wilton Reports. Wilton, here is my concern. It seems as if in basketball, where first off, one player can make a bigger difference, but the movement that has started in the last 18 months can, I think, be sustained, where the HBCUs can keep attracting 2 or 3 elite talents every year. My concern is that this is a Dion phenomenon. And if Dion were to ever leave, that this fades away. Are you concerned about that?
I think it's a thought that most people would have, and I think it's a thought that's granted that everyone could have. But I think that if Deion Sanders or Coach Fromm does leave, I think by the time he does leave, if he were to choose to leave, the SWAC as a conference would be entirely different, because it's not just a thing about, Coach Prime. You have several other teams in the SWAC that are making moves. I mean, you look at Grambling State and them just hiring Hugh Jackson. Obviously another coach with NFL experience, and you're going to see other coaches that are going to be coming into not only just the SWAC but other HBCU conferences. Even if you look at like FAMU and what they did this year, they made it to the FCS playoffs, under Coach Willie Simmons. And so these are teams and programs that are going to continue to grow and be able to get these elite players. But to your initial question, if he does leave, it's a possibility that it could happen. But I don't think that if and when he were to leave Jackson State, I don't think that some of these recruits would stop coming. I definitely think that by the time, if that were to happen, I think the landscape of HBCU football, specifically in these particular HBCU conferences, would have changed, that some players would have considered to come, more players would have come to consider to play for the SWAC and the MEAC conferences.
And I think you'll see the portal be generous to these schools as well going down the road. But, Wilton, David made the point early on, and I think I hope I don't butcher his first name, but Core Maker last year, the kid that did go to Howard, and then they shut basketball down. I mean, Wilton, I think I really and truly think if they would have played basketball last year, I think we might be having a whole different conversation about the HBCUs, because this kid would have taken them to the tournament. He might have made a little noise and that they might have won a game in the tournament. And I think it's not going to be too long before you'll see more of this. Is there a hoop team out there that we should be paying attention to in the same regard? Are they making the same inroads as Dion is?
If you want to do that, obviously, he would have definitely helped them win a game in the NCAA tournament. But when it comes to basketball, I think you're going to start to see more waves of things that are happening like it is in football. I think specifically in the SWAC, I don't know if you had a chance to really look at and look at Texas Southern and what they recently did on the court. And this is not a coincidence. They have LSU's old basketball coach in Johnny Thomas. And so it's just, when you think about that and what they were able to do recently, like there are teams in the SWAC in terms of basketball that are willing to make, they're going to make major waves, just like it is in the football with the football side of things. And so Texas Southern is just one team. In terms of basketball, you look at Jackson State's basketball team, men's basketball team, even their women's basketball team. Two teams that have won the SWAC within the recent year. Even if you look in the MEAC, well, not necessarily in the MEAC now, but you look at some of the other HBCUs like Hampton, North Carolina A&T, Morgan State, some of those schools like that, they're going to continue to make noise and make waves. Like this Deion Sanders phenomenon of players coming to Jackson State, that's not just going to affect Jackson State. It's going to affect other HBCUs in general, specifically in the SWAC and MEAC conferences stuff.
Jackson State, South Carolina State, noon tomorrow on ABC for the Celebration Bowl, the HBCU championship. And Wilton, did this route that Jackson State took here in terms of the playoffs, did this exclude them from the 16-team national tournament? Do you think there's going to have to be, for lack of a better word, a reckoning in terms of, because Jackson State, I think, was rated as the 17th best team, and it could have gotten an at-large berth, but they were going to pursue this championship instead. Is a decision going to have to be made going forward where, let's face it, this is nice, but the bigger trophy is nicer?
Or is it?
Absolutely right. And so having talked to the SWAC commissioner and different coaches and personnel around the SWAC, this Celebration Bowl is a big deal. And obviously the question has come up to Coach Fromm about, Jackson State potentially competing in the FCS and, versus competing in the Celebration Bowl. And he put major emphasis on wanting to compete in this year's Celebration Bowl because he considered it a major bowl game, and it's going to give the student athletes and players that publicity, that exposure on a national platform like in ABC and ESPN. And so I think the consideration moving forward between commissioners, between the SWAC and the MEAC, and moving forward with the FCS playoff, I definitely think those are conversations that will be had in terms of seeing how the SWAC or the MEAC per se can get more than one at-large bid to the FCS playoffs, considering the seasons that both teams have. You're talking about a FAMU team that this game, Jackson State and FAMU, that game came down to 1 point. And I remember reporting in one of my stories on SI.com is that Coach Willie Simmons and Coach Prime talked at the midfield point on the field when they said whoever wins this game is going to either win the SWAC or they're going to go to the FCS playoffs. And so that actually came down to be a 1 point game determined essentially who played for the SWAC championship. And, obviously winning the SWAC championship, deems you going to the Celebration Bowl, or who's going to be competing for an FCS playoff spot. And so it's good that FAMU did what it did in terms of getting in at-large bid, because now those conversations will be started in terms of deciding or, pitching to the committee that there are other teams within these particular conferences that deserve a legitimate shot to potentially play in an FCS playoff game.
Wilton, we don't know. And a final question, and we really appreciate your time. Do we think that this is the beginning, or do we think that this is a moment in time? Like, do you think that this is the beginning of bringing the historically black colleges back to their heyday of the 60s, 70s, and into the 80s? Or do we think that this is going to be a half-decade thing, and then it's going to fade?
I think this is a time where you're going to see HBCUs, it's particularly not even just football, athletics in general, they're going to be restored. Like I said, granted, you asked the initial question early on about if Coach Prime was to leave Jackson State, what would that mean for Jackson State? What it would mean for other SWAC schools or even other MEAC schools or HBCUs in general? With him being here and what he's been able to do in just a matter of 15 months, it has changed everything. I definitely think that more athletes are going to start considering more HBCUs. And then just to even look at it right now with all the coaching carousel within, Power 5 conferences, there's been a small coaching carousel just within the SWAC this off season. You're talking about a Prairie coach that recently left Prairie to return home to Southern University in Eric Dooley. You're talking about an Alcorn program that had won the SWAC for at least the last 4 to 5 years, and Coach McNair. They didn't have a bad season, but they didn't have the season that they typically had, which to them would be winning a SWAC championship. But that's another team that's going to be strong. You're talking about FAMU and Willie Simmons and what that program has been able to do. You're talking about a historic program in Grambling State University. You can't talk about HBCU football without talking about Grambling State University and them having Hugh Jackson, a coach with, obviously prominent NFL experience. So again, if a coach like Prime was to leave, there are other coaches in place that are going to be building on what he started. So like I said, we don't know if he's going to leave. Right now, obviously, he looks like as if he's enjoying coaching his players and teams. The players love him. The Jackson community is rallying around him. He's really put the country on a front to make sure they realize that, HBCUs are here, Jackson State is here, and it's going to be here for a while.
Well, there is no doubt about all of that. Wilton Jackson covers Jackson State and HBCU football and basketball for Sports Illustrated, SI.com. You can follow Wilton on Twitter at Wilton Reports. Wilton, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it. We know it's an hour earlier by you. Merry and a happy, and hopefully we can talk again.
Same to you, and thank you for having me on.
Wilton Jackson, kind enough to join us here. Dion, of course, from Southwest Florida, despite the strained relationship that he's had with his hometown media. Anyway, you and I are fans. Always have been.
I always have been. There's a lot of great. There's a lot of bad. But you and I watched this guy play. We're of similar age. I watched him play in front of my eyes. He's the best athlete I've ever seen play a game in front of me. When he was at Florida State, watching him on the field, I'd never seen that before, ever. And I saw a lot of good players in that run. Saw Glenn Rice, saw a lot of great basketball and football players in that run. I never saw anybody like Dion on the football field, ever.
And it's easy after the high school academy that he had in Dallas, which went belly up when he said he was going to go to Jackson State, and this is my mission, and this is what I'm going to do. And there were a lot of people that mocked him, quite frankly. And some of those people have had to acknowledge, you know what? He is doing everything that he said he'd do. And they're going to play for a championship tomorrow at noon on ABC. They've lost just one game this year. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening. Florida Sports Network.
Mark Miller for Orange Whip Golf and Fitness Power Peel at Home Training System. This complete body and swing trainer uses resistance band connection system to fix bad habits and ingrain a more consistent, powerful swing. The Power Peel system is powered by functional golf swing training technology. It trains both your swing and body at the same time. Simply make a few prescribed resistant band connections, and in a few steps on the peel, you'll swing better, feel better, and play better. Use it before your round of warm-up, as your daily fitness routine, or anytime you want to feel and train the swing you've always wanted. Pair the Power Peel with the Orange Whip Golf and Fitness at Home training technology, available with a monthly membership, and maximize your results with Golf Fitness X coach-led programs that take less than 20 minutes a day. Buy the Power Peel training bundle now for 4 interest-free payments of $115 by going to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10. That's code Miller10 to save $45. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to save $45 and play better golf. Go to orangewhipgolf.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Bob Herring tweeted out, big sweeping fade for Tiger with the driver on first hole of the Pro-Am, which all things considered seemed just fine. We are going to get shot by shot. Pro-Am. In fact, can you give me the Golf Channel? It's 218. Who was he talking to? Can you give me the Golf Channel, please? Channel 218. Your school of golf? No, Tiger Woods, Pro-Am.
Come on, they're not going to show that.
I would. Get a lot better ratings than golf, whatever this is.
I know, but I mean, think about I'm guessing they're not going to have 18-hole coverage of this thing when they have coverage of it over the weekend. It's probably the last 6 or 9 holes, so you wouldn't get this anyway. I'd check the guide and see when
you can switch it back. This isn't going to be what I want. That's just terrible.
You know why I think that was probably one of my favorite guests? Because the other day we talked about this, and then I had a point that Mark disagreed with, and then an expert came on and agreed with my point.
Great.
Which was?
That he's going to stay.
Who's going to stay?
Dion.
Oh. He's going to go to where the money is.
He's going to stay.
Okay.
Well,
so his opinion you liked because it fit your narrative. My opinion you didn't like because it didn't fit your narrative. No. That's exactly what it was. He's no more of an expert than I am. Nobody's an expert on someone else's future, okay? Let's figure this out. No one but Deion Sanders is an expert on Deion Sanders' future. So you liked one opinion better than another because that opinion fit your narrative.
Also, I mean, Felipe, he's going to stay this year because all the jobs have come and gone. By the way, when he got mentioned for the TCU job, he did not say, no, I'm not interested. I'm not going anywhere.
Okay, but you over under 5 years. You think you're
under?
Under?
And I'll even consider that he's been there 2. I'll count this as his second season, even though he's been there 15 months.
Yeah, I asked that question to Wilton because I wanted to know, and he said at least 4, maybe 5, because he said that he wants to wait for his youngest son. But we'll see. I don't know. I just really like what he's doing in Jackson State.
That's how can you not? It's terrific.
No, it's awesome, and I hope it leads to a movement. Hell, I hope it leads to a revolution. I think it would be awesome.
But
absolutely awesome.
But a revolution would also mean money.
Right. I think it would be awesome.
Yeah, you can make money.
I have always wanted. This is going to bore a lot of people, but I've always envisioned of a Florida sports conference from a college standpoint.
Ooh.
Leave the big 3 alone and have all the other Division I schools play one another in all the other sports.
That's not boring, people. That's cool.
And if you want to say, okay, we like for basketball, you got 4 ASUN schools. You got FAU, FIU. You got Bethune and FAMU. That's 8 right there.
Yep.
I'm not even talking about the 2 in the American.
I like that.
Well, one's in the Big 12. They might take the American one. The American one might be forced when that conference goes belly up.
Coming back.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. Got a good week. It's been a busy week, a newsy week. Usually it slows down this time of year.
Right? It used to, David.
Yeah, man. You know, something we've only touched upon briefly 3 hours ago in the starting 5. You and I are fans of the college athlete having more control, and we took on Bill Polian in was it 1? Yeah.
Yes.
In which, when Fournette and McCaffrey both, bailed on the bowl game.
Right. He wasn't going to draft him. That's such a terrible look. They're not even going to be wanted by pro teams.
Right. And they went 4th and 8th overall.
Get off my lawn, Bill.
But it's funny. Do you have a different feeling about Pickett, the quarterback from Pitt? Like, is your responsibility different based on who you are?
No. Your responsibility is to yourself, to your family. And, David, we've said this all along. If you're going to spend that kind of money on insurance, take care of the rest of your life, then you don't need to play pro football. Because what it would cost to get the Lloyd's of London policy, to really take care of yourself for your whole life is extremely expensive. So he's going to be a top 10 pick in the draft. He doesn't owe Pitt anything to play in that bowl game. Get yourself ready for the draft, young man. Pat Narduzzi was on the hot seat before the season started. This guy took him to a New Year's Six Bowl. Won a conference. Holy cow. Say thank you. Put a little monument up in whatever the hall is for the football team and call it a day.
And the other reason I brought this up is, Mark, we did predict that the bowls would start to really wane in significance.
And wait till we go to 12.
Yeah, and they're going to try to incorporate the bowls into it, and I don't see how they can. We'll certainly find out. Listen, the playoffs are being played on New Year's Eve because of the Rose Bowl. I mean, we'll know who's grabbed control of this sport based on the new agreement if the Rose Bowl stops being played on January 1st at 5:00.
And there's, out of the whole agreement, there's nothing I want more than to find out that that's happening. And I'm a Big Ten guy born and raised, but come on. The fact that these games are on New Year's Eve so the Rose Bowl can be on New Year's Day is absolutely, positively ridiculous.
Right. My feeling is, yes, my feeling is they just should have scheduled the Cotton Bowl at 4:30 on New Year's Day and basically said, you want to watch the Rose Bowl? Watch the Rose Bowl.
It.
But we're playing a national semifinal. I don't know what to tell you.
It is astonishing how much power that game has for a stupid parade.
Right. That's the real crux of the matter.
The Rose Parade has more power than you would ever know. And it just shows you still, while New York is thought of as the, mecca of everything, somehow I think LA still has a lot of power in this TV business, David. I don't know what else to take from that, right?
Yes. One other point about Pickett, though. If you're these other bowls, do you have to start buying the insurance policies for the Picketts of the world so that they'll play in your game? And is that an outrageous ask?
Say that again.
Are these bowls going to have to buy the insurance policies to get Pickett to play in their game going forward?
Hey, with NIL, why don't they just get him a sponsor? And his appearance is brought to you by the Georgia Peach Foundation. Ain't he a peach?
You sound like a guy who has sold some sports sponsorships in your day. My goodness, that was beautiful.
You got Walker from Sparty and you got Pickett from Pitt, who are both sitting the game out. The best running back in the country and one of the best quarterbacks in the country, both sitting the game out. I think you just put up 100,000 or 200,000 for one of them, 100,000 for the other, and we vote on who's the better player out of the two of them. Pick your peach.
Look at you. But you know what I mean. If you're the bowl game,
I'm being half funny, but I'm being half serious here, David.
No, I know, but you're wanting as many eyeballs on your game as possible. That helps you sell sponsorships. Also, maybe there's a few Pitt, Michigan State fans who thought, well, I mean, if Walker's not going to play, or if Pickett's not going to play, I mean, there's really no reason to go. I mean,
I would like all of those Pitt, Michigan State fans that thought that those two players were going to play to let me know, because I didn't think either of them were going to play the minute the game was announced.
I thought Pickett would play. All right.
Why?
Because I don't think that a guy is going to suffer a career-ending injury in a bowl game, even though Jalen Smith, the Notre Dame linebacker, suffered a very serious injury in a bowl game, Fiesta Bowl against Ohio State. It cost him millions in the draft. I mean, he ultimately rehabbed, got a big money deal with the Cowboys. Even though he got released, he's made enough money to not have to work again the rest of his life if he took care of it. But so I just don't think that way. And I know, Mark, it makes sense. I mean, we've talked about it. If he was our son, we would say, yeah, you can't play in this game.
And now with NIL, you can get paid to play in this game. That's the only thing that's different now. There is a way to actually pay someone to play in these games.
Correct. And pay for the insurance policy. Like, I don't know if there's someone in the insurance business right now, to take it. Now, these are Lloyd's of London policies, and you're taking them out for $20 million or whatever.
$10 million, and you're paying, a 5-figure premium easy.
But I mean, but if you think about it, if you're a bowl, for instance,
if you're ESPN.
Yeah, exactly.
And if they don't care either, because the games get, see, David, at the end of the day, this, these games, despite not getting huge numbers, they get good numbers.
They do.
You'll find out there'll be more people that will watch Toledo in Middle Tennessee State today at noon than either of the shows that the one guy on Fox gets paid $5 million to do, and the guy on ESPN gets paid 8 or 9 or whatever the hell Stephen A makes these days. There'll be more people watching the noon game on ESPN than watch that show.
And the bowl games tomorrow, Mark, will do more people than all of those talking head shows combined.
Correct.
But, like Yinzer here in our Twitch chat room, he's a huge Pitt fan. He said, yeah, I don't blame Pickett at all for not playing, but I was all set to head to Atlanta to see the game, and now I probably won't go. Okay.
And I will, Yinzer, I will take you on that one, and I get it. I'm only going to that game as a Spartan alum if my cousin, who also happens to be my godson, is going to come from Boise. If Cody's making the trip, there's a pretty good chance I'm flying up on the 30th and I'm going to meet him. I haven't seen him in 10 years. It would be really cool now that he's an adult to be able to do Atlanta and do the game. It has nothing to do with who's playing. It's who I'm going with. But I understand your point of view, but for every one of those, I think there's one of me. And particularly when you're in a place like Atlanta where no one's from there either, that Peach Bowl always does pretty fine with tickets.
It does. That is true. This will be interesting, though. Pitt and Michigan State, and both star players not in it.
Right.
Okay.
But, I mean, just think of all the transfers that are available for Tucker that he's going to have. I mean, he can just throw a net around him while he's there.
Exactly. He may show up early.
He's going to be at Georgia State for a while. He's going to go to Auburn for a while.
He'll be bummed that Georgia's already gone to Miami to practice. There's a chance to grab some of those kids.
Anybody they're not bringing, he's talking to.
Right. Hey, Jacksonville State and Northeast Alabama's not that far away. How about we just, take the highway west, make a right? So that's all. Just a thought. More star players opting out of the bowls. And are we seeing Mark? I mean, let's face it, they're going to meet right around the national championship game. In theory, we are going to have a brand new system of college football, and they could, if they go with what they're talking about, go with on-site games in the first round, and then they'll incorporate a few more bowls?
Probably. Oh, yeah, by the way, if there was a 12-team playoff, Michigan State and Pitt would both be in it. So we wouldn't have to worry about these guys not playing because both of these teams in everybody's bracket, they're both in.
Right. Yep.
And it ain't close either. Like they're, State's far more of a borderline team than Pitt because they won their conference, but they're both in.
So just a point. Noon today, first bowl?
First bowl game is at noon today, David.
We going to the Bahamas?
If I could get a flight, I'd be there for kick. I wouldn't even play golf today if we could go watch that live.
Middle Tennessee and Toledo at noon. Northern Illinois, Coastal Carolina, 6 o'clock. ESPN at noon. The Deuce at 6 o'clock. Your two bowl games today. Because we just don't have enough bowl games.
You're darn right we don't. When Eastern Michigan made a bowl game, David, I knew we had too many bowl games.
That was the line of demarcation, huh?
Yep. They shouldn't even have a Division I football team, and they're in a bowl game.
Well, they nearly lost it.
They should have by rule. They
Yes.
gave them a stay, if you will, David.
I know. The governor, it just took them off of death row, even though they couldn't get enough people to go to their games. And
no one has cared less about a university than people care about Eastern Michigan. That no one in the state even acknowledges they exist. Even if people go there, they just go there so they can be close enough to go to Michigan games. I mean, Ypsilanti is a stone's throw from Ann Arbor.
The good, the bad, and the ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when a recap of our picks and a final thought or two. All of that in about 15 minutes time. That's a lot of work we got to do still. Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
It's been a great start to the NFL season, and it's only getting better at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. DraftKings is putting new customers in the center of the action with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Get in on the action now. It's simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Feel the NFL action like never before with a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. And the best part is you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings app now and use code M&M. This week, new customers can get a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. Enter code M&M to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. That's code M&M. Only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
See, I thought you were talking about this. So yesterday, Van Gundy was on the Dan Le Batard show, and he said mayonnaise is the #1 condiment. And the Duke's Mayo Bowl responded and said,
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. Who is it? Who is in here? Who's my guy that's been all over me because I'm not taking? Are you watching this?
He's out of his mind today.
He's no more Bings for you.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, go Raiders. That's who it was. Go Raiders. I'm sorry. I had to figure who. Go Raiders. Look, I got nothing for you. Okay. I picked Northern Illinois because David and I have made a living on Northern Illinois. Yes. We can safely say we've probably won over $1,000 in our life just betting on Northern Illinois.
This goes back to like 2005.
Oh,
even.
Yeah.
Northern Illinois had that little running back, Michael somebody.
Yeah,
oh my God.
Season there and got to a real bowl game. So the only thing I've got for you that will tell you why I am all in on Northern Illinois. They're just very similar. Like even common opponents they're similar against. Northern Illinois' only real big loss, they got whooped by Michigan. They beat Georgia Tech, by the way. They lost two close conference games. I mean, they're actually pretty good.
By the way, they're 9-4, and they're 9-4, I believe, against the number.
And they're getting 11 at the end of the day. They're getting Sonny, no kidding, and that's the main reason I hate him. He probably has better hair than Moulton. And I mean Moulton when he had good hair. He's old now. The hair's not what it's. The hair game is.
Oh, I don't know.
It's higher though. You've got like everybody.
No. I'm talking young Moulton.
No. I'm saying Philly's might have better hair than you.
I don't know. Whoa. I had major hair at 21.
I know, but there's a little more curl there.
Is there a
than
picture?
What you have? Oh God, I've got.
I need.
I've got Moulton in the. I don't know if I. Hang on.
Please.
I may still have the mustache shot.
My hair was so wavy, Felipe, that I could just run my fingers through it and then curl it up into a fro.
Oh, wow.
No, David had great flow. I'm just it's
damn.
No. I did not say better. I said it might be better than Moulton's. I want you to slow down. Slow your roll over there, David.
By the way, really quick, after the good, the bad, the ugly, when we wrap up the show, can I say a couple things about the City of Palms Classic?
No.
Hey, go to the City of Palms Classic. It's a cool high school tournament.
No, they don't spend any money with our show, okay?
They're a nonprofit.
They advertise.
On Instagram.
No, they advertise 2 radio.
Oh, that's right. They do, yeah. Okay, fine. Never mind.
Besides, you got in your plug yesterday.
Yeah. This isn't about your free plugs. And my guess is they told you to do that, too.
No. I told them because I asked them if they knew about the Miller and Moulton show. They're like, I love Miller and Moulton. I've been listening.
We did our show live from that tournament before.
Really? I haven't. I don't live here.
I understand.
I'm not a local.
We've been pretty good at this for 15 years in this market. People do know who we are.
Yeah. I love it.
We just shattered the whole market with ratings here like 5 days ago. We kicked everybody's ass other than the conservative talk station.
Come on, let's go.
We do know what we're doing, Felipe. Okay,
let's go.
Right? I mean, we've survived without you for 15 years.
Right? Let's go. Come on.
I don't understand the whole "let's go" thing. I really don't. He's been watching too much Tom Brady. I think. Let's go.
Oh my LFG.
Okay, stop. Turn the mic off.
And yeah, that breakfast thing that you did, that jolt of whatever, you
Never again.
Not do that again.
You're not allowed to have
You
any more
are
things.
nuts today.
Holy cow. He's killing me. Killing me, Smalls.
My buddy in Jersey, Bob, just said, tell Felipe to go do the cars.
Thank you.
And Felipe, that's a term in radio in which the traffic reports. Time for traffic. Let's bring in so-and-so. Do the cars. Stern used to say that all the time.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
It's another reason to follow us on the Miller and Moulton Twitch.tv channel. The commercial breaks sometimes can be more entertaining than the show. Felipe had this morning one of those.
He had a Bing energy drink.
It's called a
He's
Bang.
not allowed to have them ever again. Ever.
Wow.
He might not make it through the show today. I'm telling you.
He has been bouncing off the walls. All right. He's been rapping during the breaks. He's been coming up with nicknames for the two of us. He's not going to come down until about 2 p.m. Then he is going to crash.
For 2 days, the Twitch chat room has been trying to constructively help a young person in the business world. And he listens exactly the way you would expect a 21-year-old to listen. Yeah, I know. Shut up, I know. I got this.
So
the education continues. For how long, we don't know.
So just, if he's going to continue to drink this, what is it? Bang?
Bang.
Oh my goodness.
Bang!
See?
Now
He's doing Mike Breen, okay, which is now his morning coffee.
He is just something.
Yep.
I think we need this week to end as
time
quickly as
now
possible.
for
Leave it to the oldest guy in the show, and definitely the oldest soul to live in the past. Here's David Moulton with Today Was the Day When.
big day, December 17th, back in 1777, France formally recognized the United States. Listen, they've been a pain in the butt for most of the last 230 years for us, but they were really there when we needed them in 1777. I'm telling you.
And calling that chip out ever since, David. Ever since.
Got to admit, though, it's the chip in which if they hadn't played it, we may not be we.
No, you're right, David. You know what? It's similar. You have a friend and you bailed him out of jail, and you got him to work or home on time so that no one knew exactly what happened. And that guy's, you owe him for life.
Big.
That's what that is.
Right. We were in trouble in 1777. We needed reinforcements, and the French said, I got your back. Okay. Thank you. We'll remember. This day in 1892, first issue of Vogue was published. So there. All
when
right.
was the first time you vogued?
Well, let's see. When did it come out? I was a big Madonna fan. During her heyday, I was fine with that. On this day in 1903, this is actually the day that the Wright brothers took flight. They tried for a few days leading up to it, but it was Orville at the controls today when he got off the ground for 12 seconds. Covered about 120 feet. December 17th, 1903. First ever NFL title game, Mark, was played at Wrigley Field on this date in 1933. Bears edged the Giants 23-21. The Bronco-Nagurski rule went into effect where a forward pass is legal from anywhere behind the line of scrimmage. Transformative game. 1944, a lot went on today. Green Bay won their 6th and final league title under legendary coach Curly Lambeau. They beat the Giants 14-7. Also on this date, the U.S. Army announces the end of excluding Japanese Americans from the West Coast and announced that all detainees would be released. Done a lot of great things in our country's history. Gotten a few big ones wrong. That was one of them.
Yeah, we had a few
screwed
wrong
up.
with that.
Yeah, we screwed up. We did. 1964, Goldfinger, the third Bond film starring Sean Connery, premiered.
Goldfinger. I loved that movie. One of my favorite Bonds.
Really?
Yeah.
We'll get back to Bond and Sean Connery in just a moment. A year later, 1965, Mark, the Astrodome opened. Its first ever event was a concert. The headliner was Judy Garland. Do you know who the opening act was?
Sinatra?
This little group called the Supremes.
Oh, all right.
With Diana Ross. 1971, the final Bond film with Sean Connery. The 7th one made overall. Diamonds Are Forever. 50 years ago today. Mark, TBS became TBS today. The Superstation went national on this date in 1976.
All right.
45 years ago. Mark, this one's for you. 1977. Elvis Costello and the Attractions. First ever U.S. television appearance. It was on Saturday Night Live.
They're only one on Saturday Night Live because they told him to do a certain song, not Radio. And that was a song kind of bashing the radio industry. And he's like, if you've ever seen the video, he's 4 bars into the song. And he's like, wait. We can't do that one. And they blast into Radio. And that was his one and only appearance on Saturday Night Live. That's very rock and roll, by the way. And it's very un-SNL to not have him back.
Yes. But they should have realized Elvis Costello. I mean, that's like telling the child, hey, but you can't do this. And the child's going to go,
right.
Well, damn, I'm going to do that.
Right. It's like when the Ed Sullivan Show told Jim Morrison, don't say, girl, we can't get much higher. And he went right into the camera and screamed it.
Wayne Gretzky makes a couple of appearances on Today Was the Day When in 1983. In just his 352nd game, he reached 800 career points and 500 career assists. Mark, he had a goal and 5 assists in a win over Quebec. 3 years later, he scores 4 goals on this date against Quebec, including the natural hat trick in the first period. For those that don't know, that's 3 goals in a row in one period.
He averaged 2.27 points.
Right.
Through 352 games.
Right. His first 352 games. That was his feeling out process for the league. Man, I got to see what this is all about. Oh, boy. 1989, on this date, The Simpsons premieres on Fox.
And it's still running.
1989, 32 years ago. The episode Simpsons Roasting on an Open Fire. Couple of notes from 1991. Most lopsided NBA game at that time, the Cavs beat the Heat 148-80, 68-point margin. And the Penguins on the same night scored 8 goals in the second period against the expansion San Jose Sharks. 8 in a period. Wow. Mark, it was on this date in 2003, the third and final Lord of the Rings movie. And in 2014, in Sarasota, at the Lakes Course, Gus Andreone aced the par 3 14th, his 8th career ace. I'm sorry, did I mention he was 103 when he did it?
You did.
Yeah. 103, oldest golfer to ever record a hole-in-one. Mark, it's Pope Francis's birthday today. Care to guess?
85.
He's 85. Really?
I actually knew that.
Gotcha.
I saw it this morning. It's the first thing I saw. It was the Pope's birthday. I saw it on Twitter. Sorry.
No problem. Bill Pullman's. I actually think he looks really good for 85.
He's got help.
Bill Pullman's 68. Rocco Mediate's 59. Michelle Tafoya's 57. Manny Pacquiao and Chase Utley are both 43. And IndyCar racer Ryan Hunter-Ray is 41. Otto Graham, Sammy Baugh, and Hayden Fry all died on this day. And that, Mark, is today was the day.
My only ad would have been just on the birthdays. It's Mike Mills, one of my favorite bands, REM. He's 63 today, the bassist for REM. Leads us directly to...
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is done Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
We go across the pond for the good today, where the family Boston Terrier is a hero. The pet dog let mom and dad know that the 9-month-old daughter, who'd been battling a cold, was not breathing. He kept banging into the baby's nursery and waking her up. They were frustrated because their daughter needed to rest. They were getting fed up with him. But the dog kept doing it. Moments later, she noticed something was not right with her baby, who had stopped breathing. Baby's fine. Dog's a hero. Crazy story. Always amazed at those dogs that know when someone's going to have like a seizure and that they can train dogs. Like that just blows my mind. All right, we move on. For the bad, we go to Naples, where Brianna Craig used her former roommate's bank account to pay her phone, her electric bills, buy a few gifts, and blow about $5,000 out of her account. Been going on for a couple of years. They didn't know who it was. They finally figured out it was an old roommate, and Brianna Craig will probably spend Christmas in jail. Finally, the ugly. We head to Utica, New York, where it was a hell of a day for this man. I mean, when you can get arrested 4 times in one day,
wow,
good. First attempt for Brandon Hedrick, who was at Tiny's Bar and Grill. He broke in through a window, got charged with criminal trespass, 4th degree, was released. Then he broke into a bunch of cars, so someone caught him in the act. Police tried to take him into custody, fled on foot. After he was taken in, obstructing governmental administration and petty larceny. Let go. Well, then he got popped one more. Then his final one was the good one. He stole a Utica fire truck. After state police jumped in the trace, he crashed the fire truck, got out, and tried to make it to Walmart before being taken into custody. It was the 4th time he'd been arrested in one day. That one let him stay a little longer in jail. And that, David, is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, December the 17th, 2021.
We mentioned it. We got 2 college bowl games today, if you are so inclined, at noon and at 6. So if you're jonesing, you can't wait to just dive in on, what's it, 41, 42, something like that, bowl games?
Yep.
Heat in Orlando to face the Magic tonight.
Nova on the road to take on Creighton. Really the only good college hoop game tonight, David.
And pay attention, by the way, Iona still looking for someone to take them up on their offer to play at Madison Square Garden tomorrow afternoon on national television. And Kentucky needs an opponent for Vegas tomorrow as well.
Also, 12:30 on the Golf Channel. One Tiger Woods will be on television hitting the golf ball. It's the Pro-Am for the father-son PNC tournament. There's going to be more coverage of this than you have ever experienced in your life. And my guess is you'll watch a lot of it. I know I will. David, safe travels to Baltimore as you go cross country today from one. Boy, oh boy. And
Yeah.
a little drive and see the Pacific so you can see the Pacific and the Atlantic on the same day. That's pretty cool at the end of the day.
Well, that's true. Hadn't
Certainly
thought
helps
about
out
it.
the miles for trips later in life when you make one like this. How many stops? Just one?
Oh, no, direct.
Direct to Baltimore from L.A.
Yep. Actually going to fly into Jersey, see Mom for a day, and drive into the game on Sunday morning.
Well, now that explains it, because there's no way you were getting to Baltimore direct from L.A. Southwest doesn't fly that far, for crying out loud.
No, man, they get tired right around St. Louis. Have a great weekend, everyone. Thanks for listening. Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
The Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, roars through the streets of beautiful downtown St. Petersburg, February 25th to the 27th. 3-day tickets are on sale now at gpstpete.com. It's fast, fun, family entertainment jam-packed into 3 days. The weekend is highlighted by the NTT IndyCar Series race taking the green flag on Sunday afternoon. It all happens at the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by RP Funding, February 25th to the 27th. Get your tickets at gpstpete.com to secure the best seats.